subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
It seems that this hunter's license must be protected. After the explanation, it was time to say goodbye. Everyone, when you step out of this building, you'll be hunters like us. Grandpa Netero made his final farewell words. We are both partners and competitors. Anyway, I wish you all the best. Disband. Ilmi was the first to leave without a sound, without attracting anyone's attention. Hanzo and Bakur also came to say goodbye to everyone. I'm going back to my country. Ninja Hanzo shook hands with everyone one by one. I'm really happy to meet you in this hunter test. When he arrived at Molek, he twitched his eyes, but still didn't have the courage to extend his hand. If you come to my country, let me know. He took out a business card from his pocket. I'll take you to visit unknown places. The name card read, Hanzo, a senior ninja of the Kumobikure school. There was also some basic information. Everyone. They were still very happy to see such a hospitable ninja. After Hanzo left, it was Bakur's turn. I plan to travel around the world and discover unknown creatures. If there is anything you want to know, understand, or investigate, please feel free to contact me. After exchanging phone numbers, he waved goodbye to everyone. Then, the next step is to go to Killua's house. Xiaojia calmed down and did not forget his next goal. Do you really want to go? On the contrary, Killua, the person involved, became a little hesitant after regaining his rationality. He knew the tempers and personalities of the people in their family very well. Once Xiaojia and the others really wanted to go, although Killua was determined to protect them, he could not predict what would happen at that time. What are you talking about? Isn't this already agreed upon? Xiaojia said as a matter of course. Since we have become friends, isn't it normal to visit each other's homes? Besides, if we don't go, your annoying brother will definitely come after us again. This matter must have a result. Karapika and Leorio nodded in unison. Although they didn't spend much time with Illumi from gone to them, they could all feel how difficult Illumi was. If they really didn't go to Killua's house and solve this matter, there would be endless troubles in the future. Everyone, Killua, felt warm at heart when he saw the sincere help from the others. Thanks. We are all friends. Why are you saying these things? Leorio smiled and pushed his glasses up. That's right, this is what we should do. Karapika also smiled. Okay, let's go to Killua's house next, Xiaojia announced enthusiastically. But before that, he turned his head, looking at Molek, who was standing beside him with a pitiful look in his eyes. Don't look at me like that. Molek was completely unmoved. In the final test, this is the result of your own choice. You can learn more about Kim from Sats. It is impossible to get any information or data about him from me. So that's it. Xiaojia's disappointment flashed across his eyes, but he quickly cheered up again. It doesn't matter. This is my own choice. I'm mentally prepared. Xiaojia is just trying to get the information. It would be the best, but if he can't get it, he has his mind prepared. However, so what are you going to do next, Molek? Go find Jean. Don't try to trick me, and don't be too naive. I won't tell you. Karapika stepped forward and said, Molek, are you going to follow us to Killua's house? He felt that Molek must know that kind of power, and he knew it very well. Looking at how powerful he was, it was enough to understand that he had definitely cultivated that power to a very high level. Otherwise, he would not have such a strong strength. Even Killua's brother was afraid of Molek. Even his father and grandfather wanted to meet Molek. I will definitely go. But before that, Molek raised his head and looked to the side. There are still some things to do. Several people followed Molek's gaze and saw a magician walking slowly towards them. Hisoka, Leorio, and the others were alert again. The hunter test was over, and the other party could kill people without scruples. No one could figure out what this pervert was thinking. Karapika's eyes flickered. He remembered what Hisoka had said to him during the test. I am here to accept the challenge. Hisoka stopped in front of the crowd at a distance that made them feel safe. Although they were far away, for Hisoka, ending their lives was just a matter of playing a poker card and a second of breathing time. Huasher Dolang is training with you now, right? Ah, that's right. Molek looked at him. So you were here to call me to task? No. Shisua held the playing cards and swung them in the air casually. I even want to thank you. I felt his will through that letter of challenge. Hisoka's mouth corners slowly rose. You have trained him very well. He raised a perverted arc. I thought that his deliciousness could be stimulated a little more, so I kept him alive. But now, his growth rate and results are beyond my imagination. I'm really looking forward to the showdown with him more and more. He smiled strangely, and his face seemed to have an abnormal blush. His body was trembling slightly. Click! His behavior made Gon, Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika all take a step back. He really can't be judged by common sense. Everyone in the group felt goosebumps on their bodies. Then, you tell him that I will appear at the Sky Arena at the agreed time and wait for him in time. When the time comes, I will taste this delicious fruit. I hope it won't disappoint me. He stared at Molek. Molek nodded at him. Don't worry about this, but I can't guarantee that you will not taste the bitter fruit of your own actions. That's perfect. After getting the answer he wanted, Hisoka's eyes became more satisfied. At the same time, his eyes moved slightly and looked at Xiaojia, Killua, and others behind him. Another wave of growing, extremely tempting green juice. The fruit that has grown and can be tasted, the fruit that is waiting to grow, and the long-awaited fruit that is ready to be tasted. Hisoka glanced at Kurapika. Suddenly, he felt that his life was so beautiful. At every time point and every future stage, there were beautiful fruits that he had been looking forward to, waiting for him. Hisoka walked away contentedly, leaving behind a group of people who were full of questions and curiosity, but did not dare to ask and were feeling very uncomfortable. Okay, stop enduring, seeing their hesitant and awkward appearance. Molek waved his hand and said, just ask anything you want to ask. Anyway, it's all over now, so I'll treat it as my last gift before we part and tell you everything you want to know. But forget about the information about Jean. Seeing Xiaojia open his mouth, Molek calmly blocked this path. Xiaojia, he scratched his head and whistled as if nothing had happened. First of all, it's the power, Kurapika asked bluntly. What on earth is it? Kia looked at Morak seriously. This question has been in his mind for a long time. This force, Molek smiled softly. It's called Nien. The group found a quiet place to stay, and Molek told them in advance what they would soon know. The so-called mind is the energy emitted by human beings. The ability to freely control and increase mind is called mind ability. Learning this skill is the basic requirement to become a professional hunter. This is also the power that every professional hunter must master. At this moment, Molek told everyone some basic concepts of mind. Everyone has ki in their body, but the amount varies from person to person. People who can detect and use it are called psychic users. The few people listen to these basic common sense in the world of non-users very carefully and memorize them firmly in their minds. How can we learn this kind of power? Xiao Jie asked the most critical question. 1 year after you pass the hunter test, professional hunters from the association will come to teach you. This is also the follow-up to the hunter test, said Molek. If you fail to successfully learn none within a year, it is very likely that other nin users will covet you. A large part of the lost passports are due to this reason. After hearing this, everyone suddenly realized, no wonder you have to pass the hunter test to learn these things. Kurapika muttered. But soon he found something wrong. There are many people who have already mastered none before taking the hunter test, right? He gave a typical example. For example, Hisoka, Killua's brother, and Morakat. You all have other ways to master the ability of mind, right? Molek nodded calmly. Well, this is correct. There are many people out there who can accidentally awaken their telepathic abilities, either by chance or through various forms of stimulation. Some people learn through family teaching and inheritance between masters and apprentices in martial arts schools. The former is like Killua's Zoldyck family. His father, grandfather, and brother all have the ability to read, and it has been passed down from generation to generation. As for the latter, as a representative like President Netero, his martial art style is the heart source style. Most of the professional hunters who pass the hunter test also learned his school, which is a very excellent school with a systematic inheritance. After listening to Molek's introduction, everyone felt that all their doubts were gone. At the same time, they also realized that the world now was so wonderful and dangerous. What school do you belong to, Molek? Xiao Jia was like a curious baby, and he asked until he got to the bottom of it. Are you also from the Xinyuan school? No, I am from the Kame Senin school. Molek said seriously. I learned from my former teacher, the Kame Senin. In my opinion, our Kame Sen Ryu is not weaker than the Heart Source Ryu. That's true, Killua nodded. The danger I feel from you is greater than that from my brother and Hisoka. Thanks to Beixiang Yidao for the reward again. Thank you, Super Boss, for your kindness. Hold on tight to your thighs. Post views. 501 start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 139. You are finally back. 9 pounces on me. Kurapika is attracted. 139, you're finally back. 9 pounces on him. Kurapika is attracted. Besides, this is not just a matter of style. Killua pursed his lips. You are also very good, right? I feel like you are younger than Hisoka and Illumi. Hisoka's age is unknown, but Illumi is already 24 years old. As a result, in Killua's perception, Illumi is no more dangerous than Morak. Morak looks like he is no more than 20 years old at most. This is very telling. Maybe, Molek said casually. Of course, there is also an aspect that our Kame Sen school is faster to master. Quick success. Kurapika's eyes flashed, and something in his mind moved. I have also seen the master of Xinyuan Liu, said Molek. He has indeed dealt with Bisji. Although they practiced in a very systematic way, they greatly reduced the occurrence of problems. But in terms of power and speed, it is still not as good as our Kame Sensei style. Anyway, I have seen many people with nin ability, but I have not seen any school that can compare with ours in terms of speed and power. Such words also made Kurapika's heart tilt. Moreover, he also thought of the reason why Hisoka came to find Morak just now. When Shisua came over just now, who was the Hua Dolang he was talking about? Ah, Hua Dolang. 2 years ago, he fought with Shisua for the first time in the Sky Arena. Molek said, his strength is about the same as yours, so he is naturally no match for Shisua. However, Hisoka saw that he had the potential to grow, so he didn't kill him. I was there at the time, and I thought that guy was a good candidate. So I took him back and taught him some of our style of key skills and knowledge. Now 2 years have passed. Huasher Dolang feels that his strength has been cultivated to a certain level, and it is time to regain his position. So he challenges Shisua again. 743-inch, he briefly talked about the grudge between the two. After only 2 years of training, do you think you can challenge Hisoka? The few people who had witnessed and felt Hisoka's terror up close all thought that this was a bit too arrogant. But they clearly remembered the anticipation and excitement on Hisoka's face when he left. It's rare for someone like him to show such emotions. I felt his will. These were the words Hisoka said before he left. It seems that the transformation and progress of Hua Dolang made Hisoka very satisfied. He felt that the other party was already a qualified opponent worthy of his attack. On the other hand, they were evaluated as unripe, green fruits that had not grown up. In just 2 years, he was able to reach the level of Hisoka. Kurapika, who had already had a preconceived preference in his mind, now completely leaned towards this side. It turns out that your Kame Sen Ryu is so powerful. Morek, Xiaojia added another brilliant comment. So, there must be many excellent nun users in your school. Not really, Molek shook his head. My teacher, Master Kame, only accepted me as his disciple and then left this world. Later, when I grew up, I also recruited Hua, Dolang, and some bodyguard under my command. Bodyguard? Well, I work for a mafia family. Is he from the mafia family? Several people subconsciously looked at the black clothes on Molek. We still don't know what you do, Molek. My job as a bodyguard for the captain of the guard in the mafia family can be seen as an analogy to the contract hunter in the association. So that's it. Lirio looked at Molek and exclaimed in surprise, I didn't expect that you could do the job of a guard, Molek. You must have seen a lot of murders and gang fights on a daily basis, right? Fighting and killing is no longer popular now, Molek said calmly. And my job is to protect the safety of a young lady in the family. Although her hobby is a bit strange, she likes to collect human organs, but she basically buys them at auctions or with money. and she doesn't kill people. Collecting human organs? Kurapika's eyes suddenly flashed with a gleam of brilliance. After Killua's matter is settled, he plans to start revenge and find the eyes of his people and track down the whereabouts of the Phantom Troop and the Red Eyes. Then the underworld organizations with a wide range of channels and intelligence networks have become his first choice. Especially those underworld families who like to collect human organs have a greater chance of obtaining information about the Red Eyes. At this moment, Kurapika no longer has any doubts in his heart. Everything he needs and plans seems to be so natural and logical and appears in front of him. He really wants to talk to Molek now. But Kurapika subconsciously glanced at Gon and Leorio, who were still asking questions. No, revenge was his own business. He couldn't let Gon and Leorio get involved. This was a dangerous incident where one could lose one's life if one wasn't careful. Kurapika didn't want to bring these dangers and harm to the people around him, especially his friends. I'd better wait until Killua's incident is over before I have a good talk with Molek. Kurapika silently made up his mind. Seeing Kurapika's expression, Molek smiled. After answering some basic common-sense questions for everyone, Molek said goodbye to them. If you still don't understand, you can use your hunter license to go online and go to a website dedicated to professional hunters. There you can see most of the knowledge and intelligence in this world. There is no rush to learn the ability of mind, because the better and stronger a person's physique is, the higher the probability of opening the ability of mind, and the higher the gains will be. It just so happens that you're going to Killua's house, where your bodies can be well-tempered. A few people waved goodbye and watched Molek leave gracefully. Killua, my body can be well-tempered in your house. Xiaoja put down his hand, looked at Kia beside him and asked, what does this mean? No, Killua thought of the gate to Hades at the door of his house and said vaguely, you'll know it when you get there. The hunter test was neither long nor short. It started on January 7th and ended on January 23rd, taking more than 2 weeks. During this period, the Nasra family was calm. After Molek returned to the family, nothing happened. The head of the family, Light Nasra, took Dazoni and others to do business outside. Since using Nyan's prophecy poem as a stepping stone to open the door to the upper echelons of the underworld, he is now in high spirits and has become more and more popular and stylish. Light Nasra is constantly entertaining and negotiating outside to improve his status and voice. At home, Nyan is constantly writing prophecy poems, which are then passed on to Light Nasra by Shakyamuni Akino. This also makes Nyan quite depressed. Fortunately, she is accompanied by maids such as Arisa. In addition, Skawara's dog-raising ability has also improved to a certain extent under Molek's oppression. She could help control the dog and perform for Nyan. And most importantly, Light Nasra promised Nyan that he would take her to the auction in Ukexin City in August this year. That's why she worked so hard and gave so many prophetic poems. There have been several auctions recently, and there are some items that the young lady likes. Zakamono Dochino was one step behind Molek, reporting the latest situation to him. But Huashir Dolang is in seclusion and meditation. We feel that he is not strong enough to guarantee that the young lady can return safely, so the young lady is staying at home for now. Well, since Huashir Dolang is preparing to settle with Shi Suo in the Sky Arena this year, he is now preparing for the next duel and has no time to protect Nyan. The lady also told the boss about this situation, and the boss thought it was caused by our lack of manpower. So Shakyamuni Akino continued. The boss wants to recruit some more professional hunters to increase the strength of the guards. If he hired more people, the next step would be to recruit Fei, Jia, Bajiao, and Melody. In fact, even if Nyan didn't mention it to Light Nasra, he still wanted to continue to expand the team. Before returning, Light Nasra talked to Molek on the phone and told him about this situation. Our business is getting better and better, and the team will also get bigger and bigger. This is a confident expression of Light Nasra. The divination that has been successful so far has made Light Nasra full of confidence. His ambition is also gradually expanding, but at least he has not lost his mind and knows that he should not be too ostentatious at the moment. There are many people in the gang who are jealous of him and dislike him. He should continue to lie dormant and wait for the opportunity to take the position. You are finally back. When Molek stepped through the door, Nine immediately rushed over. I want to go out and play. She looked at Molek pitifully with tears in her eyes. I know, Molek stroked her hair, and the touch of her hair was also very good. Whether you're going to an auction, shopping in a mall, or traveling, I can accompany you during this time. After getting the answer she wanted, Nyan burst into laughter. Then she excitedly pulled Molek to share with him what had happened around her recently, her life, and her confessions. Shachimono Docino and Skavara followed behind, but they ignored her just like that. Molek, who had just returned from the hunter test, lived a peaceful and comfortable life for the time being. He also had to digest what he had gained in the Hunter Association this time. On the other side, Gon and the others also came to Killua's home with Killua. Kakura Mountain in the Republic of Bartolia. Located in the Dentora area of the country, it is a private property of the Zoldyck family, but the front door of their family is responsible for the tourism business. Every day, a sightseeing tour bus passes by here, and there are tour guides accompanying the explanations. When a group of 4 people arrived at the door on the bus, this is the main entrance, also known as the gate of the underworld, because those who enter will never return. The tour guide was explaining everything diligently. Although we can enter through the small door next to the guard room, we cannot go in to visit because it is the private territory of the Zoldyck family. This is the explanation for outsiders. Of course, few people want to go to the assassin's house to take a look, except for some people who are looking for death. However, while the tour guide was introducing everything, Killua and Gon had already walked forward. The small door next to it is a passage for intruders. Anyone who enters from there will be eaten by our guard dogs, Kia said as he walked to the front of the gate of Hades. Then he placed both his palms on the gate, and when he was about to use force, Master Kia, you're back. In the guard room next to him, Jebu Rong, who was wearing work clothes, hurried out. The people next to you are Mr. Xiaojia and his group, right? Jebu Rong just glanced at them and immediately understood. Young Master Yilmi called home and said you will come back with a group of people who claim to be your friends. I'm not calling myself that, Xiaojia emphasized. We are just friends. My wife was very angry when she got the news. Jebu Rong did not argue on this point. If you brought them back, you would definitely not let them go. Xiaojia, Karapika, and others raised their eyebrows at the same time. Killua knew about his mother's crazy personality a long time ago, so he was not surprised by this. I will protect them. He just said this. Actually, the master has also spoken. Kia paused as he prepared to make another move after hearing this. The master said that if you want to become friends with Master Killua, you must first become a guest of the Zoldyck family. If they can't even meet this requirement, then they are not qualified to become Master Killua. There is no need for qualifications to be friends. Shao Jia emphasized again, that's what I said. But this is the Zoldyck family after all. Jebu Rong looked at Xiaojia. It's different from the assassination family in the outside world. Moreover, Master Killua, you will definitely be punished when you return home because you hurt the wife and the second master. When Xiaojia wanted to say something, Jebu Rong said, the master also said that they are professional killers, and Master Killua is also one of them, so there will inevitably be people who come to seek revenge. If he doesn't have the strength to become a guest of the Zoldyck family, then in the following interactions, it will definitely cause some trouble for Master Killua. Friend will not cause trouble to others. It was this sentence from Jibrong that made Killua return to Mount Kakuru first. Jibrong brought Gon and the others to the servants' dormitory where he lived. The main reason was that Gon also realized a problem. It seemed that if they had not become guests of the Zoldyck family, they would not be able to have a fair dialogue with the Zoldyck family. With Gon's firm determination, they stayed here to receive special training. After the hunter test was over, they took the lead in embarking on the journey of training. And Kurapika gradually realized what Morak had said before. To learn telekinesis, you need to have a strong physique. Kurapika changed into a training suit and looked at the gate of Hades. So, as long as we can successfully push open the gate of the underworld, our bodies will be qualified to learn the ability of none. It is precisely because of this important role that several people calmed down and began to train seriously. Do I need to be trained? in the luxurious training room of the Nasra family, which can be called a gymnasium. Shurba, who came to seek refuge, listened to the arrangement made by Molek and couldn't help but have a question mark on his forehead. After the hunter test was over, she went to the door according to the business card Molek gave her before. After Shurba's inquiry, she found out that the Nasra family has been thriving in the underworld recently and has a loud reputation. Post views 490. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 140. The videotape spread throughout the Phantom Troop. Hiding it from Krallo. Molek's arrival. Episode 140. The videotape spread throughout the Phantom Troop. Hiding it from Krallo. Molek arrives. Shurba originally thought that she would be able to make a living here with her sniping skills. But when she found out that an ordinary dog-raising servant seemed to possess that kind of strange power, she was not even as good as a dog-raising person. She could only find Molek and wanted to step into the unknown field. Then she was told that she had to undergo training first to improve her physical fitness. Of course, it's okay if you don't want to train. Molek would not force it. But if you want to learn telekinesis, the stronger your physique is, the easier it will be to adapt and practice telekinesis, and it will also be helpful for subsequent practice. Just like Skavara, he had not undergone any physical training, but only acquired the ability of mind by chance. If you want to become as strong as him, then that's up to you. Whether you are willing or not is up to you. Now that it's come to this, does she have any room to be picky? She doesn't want to look so weak like Skavara. At the moment, she followed Skavara, the dog-raising servant who she didn't think was very powerful, to train. Although Skavara was very unhappy with Shurba's attitude, he also followed Molek's orders honestly. In this way, one in Kukla Mountain and the other in the Nasla family, both groups were constantly training for practice. As for Molek, he accompanied Nyan to eat, drink, and have fun. Of course, he didn't forget Light Nasla's instructions. The recruitment information for hiring professional hunters as bodyguards was handed over to the hiring agency. It was also in the underworld world and the Kianer Club, which helped professional hunters find jobs and screen suitable employees. This can be called an underground intermediary organization. Many underworld families will post recruitment information here. There are also many professional hunters who come here to seek work. It can be said that a good trading platform has been built for both parties. Anyway, up to now, Rinhue's platform has been well received. This is true among employers and applicants. The Nasra family is now a big family, and Light Nasra doesn't need to hire outsiders at any time. There is no need to go to places like Meteor Street to find people. Coincidentally, this Kianerwi is a good platform. 27 after Molek entrusted some requirements. The other side immediately received a reply of will be arranged immediately. It won't take long to find a group of qualified applicants, so the world is temporarily stable again. On the other side, in a very sacred church on the continent of Yalubian, in the center of the lobby, stood a young man with a purple cross tattoo on the center of his forehead. He wore blue earrings on both ears, combed his hair in a suit, and wore a black coat with an inverted cross pattern on the back, chanting in a low voice. When a verse was finished, the pair of deep black eyes slowly opened, revealing indifferent eyes that seemed to contain no emotion. At this time, on the left and right sides behind him, there stood a tall woman with her clothes exposed, and a short figure with disheveled hair, covering her face so that only one eye could be seen. However, the tall woman seemed absent-minded. She seemed to be thinking about something else in her mind. From time to time, her eyes looked nostalgic, looking at the figure standing in front of her chanting scriptures. Pike, suddenly, the man in front spoke softly. "Are you looking at me?" "Yes, Captain." The woman called Pike paused for a moment, then immediately replied, "Is there something wrong with me?" No, why?" The leader said slowly, "There have been many times in recent times. I'm very curious what happened." His voice was very magnetic. "Can you tell me?" The one-eyed short man beside him also raised his head and looked at Pike. In fact, during this period of time, he always felt that the other party's recent mood was a little bit wrong. It was not a bad thing, just a little strange. At present, not yet. Paknoda hesitated for a moment, then shook her head and refused. Is that so? Upon hearing this, the leader, Kavu, stopped asking questions. Wait until you can tell me. He has absolute trust in every one of his companions and every member of the group. Since Paknada said it was not the right time, there must be a suitable time. As the leader of the Phantom Troop, he would not make it too difficult for his members in this regard, seeing that Kuroro did not continue to pursue the matter. Paknada was secretly relieved. Before, when Maki and the others showed her the videotape, they asked her not to tell the leader about this matter for the time being, because they wanted to give Kuroro such a big surprise at the gathering where all the members were present after not seeing each other for a long time this year. As for Kuroro himself, whether he felt it was a surprise or not was not something they had to consider. Anyway, those members of the group were very happy to see that scene, especially those old people who had participated in the dubbing together and witnessed Kuroro's performance in the initial stage. Wajin, Nabinaga, Maki, Paknada, Phaeton, Finks, Franklin, and Knight. According to what Maki told Paknada, Wajin and Nabinaga have not been in touch yet. However, Finks and Knight have already told them about this matter. It's just that the recording has not been played to them. Paknada is the fourth person who knows about this matter and has heard the recording. To be honest, Paknada really felt absurd when she heard the videotape with their dubbing together. That was a memory of their childhood that could no longer be traced back. Even though they are now murderers with a lot of evil, that precious memory is still enough for them to remember in their hearts. Later, when Paknada was shocked and happy after watching the videotape, she did not forget to ask where the videotape was found. When she learned that it was a guy who also came from Meteor City and witnessed their scene at the beginning, and met them in front of Saras's grave and gave them the videotape, Paknada was both surprised and understood. That scene at that time gathered many children. No one knows what kind of achievements they will have in the future and what kind of path they will take. In Phaeton's words, the other party may have developed the ability of memory, like himself. Then he re-recorded his memories of a certain period of time in the past. But this is just speculation. No one knows what the real purpose and intention of the man named Molek is. But no matter what, this videotape cannot be faked. And the attitude shown by Krallo, who was still very young at that time, when she thought of this, a hint of nostalgia flashed in Paknada's eyes subconsciously. The short one-eyed Kubi beside her tilted his head. Kuroro in front silently picked up the scripture again. Not only Paknada, but other people are also hiding something from him. This is beyond doubt. Kuroro can still feel it. Of course, after his investigation, Kubi also eliminated the possibility of knowing. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it, and support us on our website for more free novels. Then, the elders who founded the Phantom Troop together are planning something in private. According to the classification of this type of people, it should be what happened in Meteor Street. Moreover, they are so shy and hide it from me. Under the premise that it is not a bad thing, it should be a past event that happened in Meteor Street between them. Well, let's just see what this group of members of my group want to do. Thinking of this, Kuroro closed his eyes again and began to recite attentively. Time passed slowly and quickly. Nearly a month had passed. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. After this period of training, Shiba barely reached the standard for opening the ability to read. It was the standard in the eyes of Molek. If you're talking about the physical fitness of someone as useless as Skawara, it doesn't matter. She is familiar with the flow of breath in her body and the strength of her mental power. It takes ordinary people several years to learn and adapt to the ability to read. Even professional hunters who have passed the hunter test have an average of about a year to learn. Shiba's speed can only be said to be not slow, but it's not much faster. After all, she is not a genius that is one in a million. However, the real genius Hua, Shi Dolong, has already come out of retreat. With his spirit adjusted to the peak state, he was ready for a battle with Hisoka and walked out of the door of retreat. It seems that you have adjusted well. Looking at the introverted Hua, Shi Dolang, who seemed to have returned to his original nature, Molek nodded at him. In terms of strength, you have no problem dealing with Hisoka, but I will win, Hua Shi Dolong said to Molek so firmly. His words were full of strong confidence and unquestionable feeling. Okay, it's good to be confident, and Molek didn't say anything more. But Ba, who joined later, quietly approached Molek when no one was around. You wanted to say, but what? Hua Shidalang's strength is no problem. But his brain Molek glanced at her. In the world of psychic users, strength is a very important factor in determining strength and victory, but it is definitely not the most critical factor. Even the strongest people, such as the later Ant King, fell under the malice of humans. In terms of strength alone, the current Huasher Dolong is not inferior to Hisoka. And with the previous experience of fighting with martial artists, he has no problem. But in the battle between psychic users, one must learn to analyze and judge reasonably, and use each other's psychic abilities to make a fuss. In this regard, Huasher Dolong is still lacking. Especially facing Hisoka, a fighting maniac with a super high IQ who is very good at playing with people's hearts. In short, Huasher Dolong is still a little too naive. But he doesn't think so. In his mind, he still has the thinking of those martial artists, thinking that he can win the battle by relying solely on his own moves and fighting experience. It can only be said that he is still too naive. But Huasher Dolong at least knows how to warm up before the battle. So he plans to go to the Sky Arena early and fight back to the 200th floor. Nyan, who had been bored of staying at home for a long time, heard that they were going out again. And they were going to the Sky Arena, which they had not been the last time, so she was naturally very happy to go with them. It happened that there was a female guard named Shiba in the team. With Nyan by her side, everything became much more convenient. In this way, the family was left with Skavura, a dog keeper, and Lin Xian, a silent guy who only cared about his work but was also reassuring. Zaya Kamenikino followed Molek, and together with Huasher Dolong and Shiba, they guarded Nyan and went to the Sky Arena again. However, after arriving at the Republic of Batoria, Molek temporarily parted ways with them. In his words, it was, "I plan to find a better bodyguard." Molek waved and smiled at the others and said, "If he joins our bodyguard team, we can save a lot of effort. Not only me, but also the young lady's future work outside, and I'm sure that I will be more assured." Nyan, who was originally a little reluctant and pouting, heard that she could go out and play more freely in the future, and her eyes lit up immediately. "Just go find that person." She raised her little face, her little head, and her little chest. "During the days you are away, I will definitely not be willful or cause trouble." For this reason, Molai, 470G, who had no worries, put his mind at ease and set off on the road to the Zoldyck family. He still took the same tourist sightseeing bus as Xiaojia and others. Well, apart from the sightseeing bus, there is no other means of transportation to come to this place. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing now is the Killer family. The young lady in the tour guide costume said the Zoldyck family's very solid gate. It is said that once you enter, you will never be able to come out alive. She was talking to everyone present about the introduction of this place. A group of tourists looked at the entrance of the gate with their eyes wide open. What are they about? At the entrance of the gate of the underworld, there was a creaking sound of a door opening, and a figure slowly pushed the door open from the inside. "Well done, Gon." At the door outside, Karapika and Liurio were also cheering for Gon. Boom! Finally, the door opened and Gon successfully pushed out. The tour guide, they should be the so-called people who have returned from the underworld, right? Then the tour guide hurriedly called the other tourists to get on the bus and leave this strange place. Molek naturally did not leave, but chose to stay. "Hey, Gon, Liurio, Karapika." He came forward and greeted them familiarly. The trio who were celebrating turned around when they heard their names and were delighted to see the newcomers. "Molek, you are here too." Molek. When the guard Jeb Barong heard the name, he was startled at first. After a brief recollection, his expression suddenly changed. "Are you Mr. Molek, the one the master specifically asked me to receive?" He stepped forward and said respectfully, "Master Ilmi sent me a message earlier, saying that you will also come to the Zoldyck family soon. I'll contact the housekeeping office immediately." As he said this, he was going to the guard room to make a phone call. "No need to bother." Molek waved his hand casually. "Since I'm here to visit you, I must follow the local customs and follow your rules." As he said this, he stepped forward and walked towards the gate of the underworld. In the meantime, He did not forget to look at Xiaojia and the other two and nodded in appreciation. You have made great progress, of course. Xiaojia is still so sunny and cheerful. We can now open the first door. Liu Rio can even push open the second door. Speaking of this, Liu Rio proudly raised his arms and showed off his muscles. Well, Liu Rio is already 18 years old. Compared with the 12-year-old Xiaojia and the 16-year-old Kurapika, he has an advantage in age. And Kurapika is not mainly a power-type person. Post views. 518 start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 141. The 7 doors open. Meet Maha Zoldyck, Soul's Lost Sword. 141. The 7 doors open. Meeting Maha Zoldyck, Soul's Lost Sword. However, thanks to the Gate of the Underworld, the physical fitness of several people has been significantly improved. The Gate of the Underworld of the Zoldyck family has a total of 7 doors. The left and right sides of the first door are 2 tons, which adds up to 4 tons. The second door has 4 tons on each side, which adds up to 8 tons. The third door is 16 tons. The fourth door is 32 tons. The fifth door is 64 tons. The sixth door is 128 tons. And the seventh door is 256 tons. When Killua came back, he pushed open 3 doors, but it was a full 16 tons of thrust. It was not easy for Gon and the others to push them open in less than a month. At the same time, they also understood what Molek said before. Coming to the Zoldyck family, they can better strengthen their bodies. Isn't it just using this Gate of the Underworld as practice? Kurapika, on the other hand, gave full play to his subjective initiative and thought a little further. I think everyone in the Zoldyck family is a strong Nun user. And the physical fitness they had developed before they acquired the ability of Nun was based on this Gate of the Underworld, right? Then, after reaching a certain standard, you can acquire the ability to read. While Kurapika was thinking and analyzing as usual, Molek placed his hands on both sides of the gate. The few people who saw what he wanted to do did not say anything. They watched quietly on the side as he pushed several gates. Then, the next second, everyone's pupils shrank at the same time. Squeak! The first door was pushed open without any resistance. The second door did not cause any trouble at all. The third door seemed even more effortless. The fourth door was also done in one go. The fifth door could not be blocked at all. As for the sixth door, it only resisted a little and surrendered quickly. That is, the seventh door was a little willful and delayed for a second, but it still obeyed Molek's power obediently. The 7 gates were pushed open like this by Molek easily. I've been working here for so many years. Giabaron looked at the shocking scene in front of him and couldn't help but murmured, I have never seen anyone push these 7 doors. He didn't know if the master and the former master could push the door open. Anyway, they only pushed the first 3 doors open enough for them to enter and then stopped moving backwards. Well, after all, it was the front door of their own house, so there was no need to use extra strength. This was the first time he had seen such a grand occasion. No wonder the Zoldyck family was so interested in this young man named Molek. Mr. Molek attaches so much importance to me. I really have the capital and confidence to be respected. Good, awesome. Xiao Jie stared at the 7 doors that were pushed open with his eyes wide open. They were exhausted to push open one door. But Molek pushed open all 7 doors. That was a full 256 tons of weight. And it didn't look like they were struggling to push them open, and then they just passed through the gap. It was completely easy and effortless, and it seemed that he still had some strength left. He didn't use all his strength to push the door open seriously. Is Molek so powerful? Liu Rio was dumbfounded. He was deeply shocked. He thought that he was already very powerful to be able to push open 2 doors. But in front of Molek, he was nothing. Is this the power brought by Kamesun Ryu? Kurapika's eyes flashed with brilliance. If he had this much power, then dealing with the Phantom Troop would be a piece of cake. Okay, let's go in. Molek pushed forward with both hands. Suddenly, the 7 huge doors turned back at 90 degrees, revealing a wide road ahead for everyone. As for the guard dog, Sanmao, squatting on both sides. After the 7 doors were opened, He shrank into the woods early and did not show his head. Molek clapped his hands and walked forward first. At this time, in the middle of their front road, a dazzling blind box was flashing. "We will go in first, Uncle Jibyurong." Xiaojie thanked him politely. "I really troubled you during this period of time." Several people followed Molek's figure and moved towards the front of the Zoldyck family. Jibyurong looked at the open door and smacked his lips. After the few people disappeared from his sight, he returned to the guard room and picked up the phone. "Such information needs to be reported to the housekeeper's office. Got a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Open successfully. Get soul-destroying sword." Source World. One Piece. A red blind box was opened by Molek, and he got the man who really came back from the underworld from the One Piece world. The weapon of the musical Skullbrook. As a person with the ability to eat the underworld fruit, he really came back from the underworld. And he has also experienced 2 years of trials and could draw the cold air from the underworld, which can freeze the human soul. He uses the power from the underworld to forge a new weapon, the soul-destroying sword. It entangles the soul, possesses the cold air of the underworld, and activates the power to freeze the enemy's soul. However, Molek is not good at using swords, so he temporarily puts it in the storage space. Along the road of the Zoldyck family, several people walked all the way. Halfway through, Xiaojie did not forget to get close to Molek and asked him, "Molek, our current physical fitness is sufficient to practice the ability of mind, right?" "Well, for your age, that's about right. So when can you teach us?" "You don't need me to teach you." Without even turning his head, Molek said, "Once you pass the hunter test, professional hunters from the Hunter Association will come and teach you how to read." But Xiaojie scratched his head and said, "I feel like your Kamesunryu seems very strong. It's not worse than the heart source flow of President Netero and the others." Karapika nodded silently. "If you really want to learn, I can teach you." Molek continued, "I will stay at the Sky Arena for the next period of time. If you want to go, I guess your Shinjinryu teacher will also go there. At that time, you can compare which school is more suitable for you." "Is that so?" Xiaojie was thoughtful. When he wanted to ask something else, "We have arrived. There is a small stone staircase in the middle of the road ahead. The area inside is fenced off with iron fences. Only a small semicircular doorway is left for people to pass through. However, in the middle of the passageway, there is a girl in a housekeeper's uniform. She has fluffy hair like red tempura shrimp, and her whole appearance is like the Little Mermaid in the movie The Little Mermaid. It can't be said that they are exactly the same, but they are carved from the same mold. Sorry, you're not allowed to pass here." Canalia, the new housekeeper, drew a line on the ground with a round cane in her hand. If anyone crossed this line, they would be hit by her. Molek knew that this was a mermaid with a cold face but a warm heart. The little girl is the same age as Killua and wants to be friends with him. However, due to her position as a trainee housekeeper, she is cautious in her words and actions and dares not call Killua by his name or accept his gifts. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. She can only bury this friendship in her heart. A few years ago, the bounty hunter Shiquan led 100 men to attack the Zoldyck family, but they were all killed by Canaria alone. As a result, in the original version, when Xiaojie repeatedly stepped over this line, he was just knocked away. Because Canaria knew that Gon was Killua's friend, she showed mercy. Until the end, she was infected by Gon's emotions and was knocked unconscious by Killua's mother, Kikyu. After all, she was a 12-year-old child and was easily emotional. Later, she took Gon and others to the housekeeper's office where Wudong was. But now, you step back first, Canaria. Just after she drew the line that could not be crossed, a low voice came from behind her. Wudong butler Canaria turned around, and the first person she saw was the current butler Wudong, who was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, had a thick chin, and a serious expression. Xiaoponian, seeing the person behind Wudong, Canalia's expression immediately became tense. She was a tall and sturdy woman with pink twin ponytails. Her face was covered with deep wrinkles, indicating that she was already very old. Her name was Xiaoponian, a senior butler of the Zoldyck family and the previous chief butler of the family before Wudong. After 2 years, Xiaoponian gave up the position of chief butler to Wudong, which did not mean that she retired. Instead, she no longer cared about all the mundane affairs of the outside world, but became the direct butler of the family chairman Ba. She only served the head of the Zoldyck family. Her appearance here only meant one thing: the arrangement of the family chairman Ba. The master asked me to ask Mr. Molek to go to the master's house. As a competent housekeeper, Zybonian bowed respectfully without any emotion and made his intention clear. Originally, the master should have come to receive us personally, but he is currently discussing family affairs with Master Killua, so he was unable to come here immediately. Please forgive me, Mr. Molek. Well, after Killua took the lead in opening the gate of Hades and returned home, he was punished for stabbing his brother and mother. His fat second brother Miji personally whipped him and gave him a lesson that seemed severe, but in fact could not hurt Killua at all. Then, after Killua's grandfather Zeno Zoldyck showed up, Killua went to Silva's bedroom and had a heart-to-heart talk between father and son. Killua? Where's Killua? After triggering the keyword, Gon immediately started asking questions. Master Killua is talking to the master. When they finish talking, Master Killua will come to see you. Zybonian still provided standard butler service. She said to Wutong in front of her, entertain the friends of Master Kia and wait for Master Kia to come over, yes. Wutong responded in a low voice, and then asked Canaria to take Xiaojia and the other three to his housekeeper's office. On the other hand, Molek, led by Zybonian, went to the master's house at the back. The two sides had a brief separation here. Knowing what Xiaojia and the others would face next, Molek was not worried about what would happen to them. On the contrary, where are you going to take me? Molek asked Zybonian, who was leading him but was getting more and more off track. Of course, we will take it to the master. Zybonian responded calmly. We are just taking a shortcut now. Shortcut in such a large family. The quickest shortcut to the destination should be the main road, right? Seeing that the road ahead was getting more and more remote, most people would have thought that Zybonian had some ill intentions. However, Molek sensed the existence of humans ahead through the air perception, and it seemed that they were waiting for him. As he followed Zybonian after arriving at the destination without saying a word, the scene in front of them was very simple. It was a small garden. There was only a simple rocking chair with a little old man rocking on it. There was a small stone table next to it with a bottle of Coke and a bag of snacks on it. In front of the rocking chair, there was a small TV. The screen inside was playing a cartoon that was once very popular all over the world. The 5-member team's Cleaning Warriors. It was also the most popular cartoon for the children of Meteor City when Kuroro and his fellow brigade members dubbed it for them. Morak only glanced at the little old man on the rocking chair and knew his identity. Maha Zoldyck, the strongest person in the Zoldyck family, and the person with the highest seniority in the family. He is the grandfather of the previous head of the family, Zeno Zoldyck. He is about the same age as Netero, but according to Zeno, President Netero is the only person who has fought with Maha and is still alive. He can be said to be one of the few big guys in the hunter world, and it was probably his idea that Molek was brought here by Zybonian. As for Maha's idea, it was also very simple. There's no dark aura on you. He was sitting in a rocking chair, his body swaying up and down, and slowly he said this, Wang Ma Zhao. He didn't look at Molek, but Molek knew that he was talking about himself. After clarifying the matter of Aluka and his own unpredictable origins, it is also easy for the people of the Zoldyck family to misunderstand that he is also from the Dark Continent. So now he is brought to Maha Zoldyck, just to let this old patriarch confirm it carefully. On the one hand, he has the most experience and the most extensive knowledge. On the other hand, his son, Jaeger Zoldyck, once went to the Dark Continent with Netero, but later his whereabouts were unknown, and the Zoldyck family also had a product like Nanika. This also forced Maha Zoldyck to come forward to deal with this matter, and the first time Molek arrived, he judged it. Molek, he has nothing to do with the Dark Continent. There is no breath from the Dark Continent on him, but sometimes aura can be very deceiving. Old man, Molek just looked at his rocking chair and smiled. Just like Nanika, if she didn't come out, just looking at the appearance of Aluka, people can't find any faults. But once you become Nanaga, I think you, the Zoldyck family, have already experienced the impact and consequences. So many housekeepers have been replaced, and even a few-year-old child has become a trainee housekeeper. This is a bit hurtful for the Zoldyck family, right? Maha Zoldyck remained silent, or rather, he acquiesced, except for occasionally going out to do his old business. He had long stopped intervening in other family affairs. It was only this time, regarding Aluka and Nanika, that he showed up. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 142. The opening of multiple blind boxes. The famous scene of a loving father and a filial son. Separation and a brand new life. 142 multiple blind boxes opened. Famous scenes of loving father and filial son. Separation and a brand new life. If there is no problem, I will leave first. Molek's goal has always been very clear. He came here mainly for Xiaojia to go through the plot, and he came to collect blind boxes. For this kind of old generation strongman, he didn't show up much in the original plot, and didn't promote the development of the plot. He is not a very important character. Naturally, he can't attract Molek's interest. On the contrary, it's not as good as the father and son pair of Zeno and Sheba, which arouses Molek's interest. Zyponian looked at Maha Zoldyck and found that the latter didn't react. He also bowed to him, and then took Molek and continued to walk towards the main house. Didn't you just say that you would take me to see the master? Why are we here? On the way back, Molek asked Zyponian. The latter's answer made sense. When I became an apprentice butler, the master was already the master. After all, Maha and the others are also the heads of the Zoldyck family, passed down from generation to generation. In the main house of the Zoldyck family, Silva, who entered the state of a kind father, finished chatting with Killua. He touched his head lovingly, then bit his finger and made a contract between men with Killua. Never betray your friends. I swear, I will never betray you. After firmly pressing his hand seal with his father, Killua said in a sonorous and powerful voice, "Never." Then he packed his small backpack and ran to find Xiaojia and the others. He left Sheba in his room, stroking the hair of the black dog in the room. "What do you think?" he said slowly. Then two figures walked in from shadow in the room. "Isn't it touching to see a loving father and a filial son?" Molek smiled and walked to the center of the room, casually found a chair and sat down. Zybonian didn't do anything more this time, and took Molek directly to Sheba's room. Molek also happened to see the scene just now. In addition, he also took a blue blind box in the venue. However, it should be said that the current Zoldyck master, Molek, affirmed Silva's performance and praised him. After all, his methods are extraordinary and he is full of courage. Just now, Silva first touched Killua's forehead to make sure that the needle in his head was still there, and maybe it had deepened a layer and became more solid. Although it was Illumi who inserted the needle into Killua's mind, it was Silva who nodded in approval. The purpose was to preserve the best seedling in the history of their Zoldyck family. The reason why he let Killua go and made a contract with him that men never betray friends. It seems to be very generous and courageous, but in fact it is also the style of the head of the family who has everything under control. Silva saw that Killua's eyes were in the rebellious period, and they became more and more wild with his own personality. In the spirit of blocking is not as good as loosening, he might as well adopt a free-range model. And the contract of never betraying friends has also become a key point Killua talked to you a lot about gone. So you can almost imagine that with their personalities, they will definitely encounter some difficult-to-deal-with dangers. There's a needle in Killua's head, which makes him give up immediately when facing any danger that may endanger his life. Then, once the two of them encounter this kind of danger, Killua will be affected by the needle and will make two choices. Molek said casually, not caring at all that this is the home of the Zoldyck family. He also didn't care at all that the person in front of him was the head of the Zoldyck family, the master of the killer family that made the world tremble with fear. First, he failed to get rid of the influence of the needle and chose to give up escaping when faced with danger. Then, even if he betrays his friend and violates the contract between you, he will realize that he is not worthy of making friends at all, and will fall into darkness completely. This will allow you to guide Killua into an emotionless killer step by step as you expected. Shiba folded his arms and listened quietly. Second, Killua successfully overcame the Mind Needle, and his mental strength has greatly improved, completely making up for his shortcomings and truly becoming the best successor of your Zoldyck family. Just like the second brother Miji, his evaluation of Killua. In terms of talent, he is undoubtedly the best among all the members of the Zoldyck family. My mother and I both agree with this. But as a killer, he is too emotional and unqualified, and he also made friends, so he is not worthy of inheriting the Zoldyck family. He is a coward in spirit. Even Gino said that these words made sense. And Killua, who can make progress in mental strength, will usher in a qualitative leap. He will also be more rational and understand the impact of his identity and surname on himself, and think and make the most favorable evaluation. And he will also grow into a qualified killer. Real killers are all betting their own lives to complete every business. How can you retreat just because you're facing life-threatening danger? So, no matter what the two results are, you will not lose out. Molek concluded, "You will all get the outstanding successor of the Zoldyck family that you want to see." This is why, when faced with Kijo's questioning, Silva gave, "He will definitely come back here." Such confidence. No matter which of the two results Killua gets, he will eventually return to the Zoldyck family. It's just a matter of time. It just so happens that during this period of time, Killua can go out and explore more and accumulate enough experience. This is also a good thing for his growth. From these aspects, it can be seen that the head of the Shiba family has good intentions. Molek didn't mean anything else. He was really praising him. As the head of a killer family, he has so many children with different personalities. It is obviously not an easy task to take care of the external business and the internal training of the offspring. This made Molek think of Jean. If Jean, the father who also put a lot of effort into training Xiaojia, met with Shiba, these two fathers would probably have a lot in common, right? Then I would like to thank you for your compliment. Shiba's voice was calm and also had a deep echo. So, could you please tell us, Mr. Molek, why you know about Aluka? Of course, Molek was also very straightforward. First, I am not from this world, and I can relate to this. Second, I have a certain ability to understand the direction of the world. It won't take 2 years. By then, the world will have undergone a structural change. The corners of his mouth slowly rose. The dark continent will no longer be a secret to people all over the world. At this moment, Shiba's eyes suddenly condensed. He stared at Molek for a long time. "Dad, do you think what he said is true?" After Molek was sent away by Zybonian, Shiba's deep voice sounded in the room again. "Based on my experience and observation, he is not lying." Xeno Zoldyck appeared in the room with his hands behind his back. Besides, he also gave a time limit, less than 2 years. Xeno Zoldyck twirled his beard lightly. "Time is short. Let's see if what he said is right or not." "I think so too," Shiba nodded slightly. "But I'm a little worried. Will the changes in the world structure and the disclosure of the Dark Continent in 2 years be related to Aluka?" Xeno Zoldyck said the question that Silva was worried about. Or will such changes and disclosures have a certain impact on Aluka, resulting in changes that we cannot predict? Silva nodded in silence again. "This is a problem. To read exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network." Xeno Zoldyck pondered for a moment. "Add another isolation door to Aluka's closed room, and let me find the best materials to make it. And Killua and that Morak have a good relationship. If necessary, we can find out through this aspect. All issues concerning Aluka always have to be dealt with first in the Zoldyck family." It can only be said that this meeting with Morakot did not give them the answers they wanted. Instead, it added more variables, doubts, and concerns. On the other hand, Molek, who had nothing to do, was led by Zybonian to the housekeeper's office where Wudong's housekeepers were. According to the time, Wudong was playing the coin-guessing game with Xiaojia. On the way there, Molek also opened the blue blind box he got from Shiba. "Got a medium blind box. Do you want to open it?" Successfully opened. Obtained. Noera Hiroshi's smelly socks. Source World. Crayon Shinchan. Well, the famous scene of a loving father and a filial son opened with Noera Hiroshi, who was once rated as the most desirable man to marry by Shiori. Noera Hiroshi's stinky socks. They haven't been washed for a long time and have a strong odor that even aliens and monsters can't stand. This description alone is enough to be used as a killer. Molek followed Zyponian and soon saw Kia in front of them. Neither of them alarmed the other. Instead, he bypassed him and came to the housekeeper's room in advance. As it happened, the game was almost over. Wudong and the other two housekeepers kept waving their hands together. The coin that was thrown into the air had long disappeared under the three people's wild hands. The three of them stopped moving and clenched their fists. All right. Wudong looked at Xiaojia and the other two sitting on the sofa with a cold gaze. Who is the coin? In response to this question, Xiaojia showed a mischievous smile. In the hand of the person behind me. The guess was correct. The person behind me opened his hand, and the coin was held in his hand. It's amazing, Wudong's ears moved, as if he heard the footsteps of Kia approaching from afar. Then a smile appeared on his face. The applause at the scene was loud, as if the previous solemn atmosphere did not exist at all. It was simply a harmonious scene. Xiaojia, Kia, carrying a backpack, pushed the door open and came in. Killua. Xiaojia immediately ran over to him, and the two of them immediately started laughing and joking. At this time, Molek also came out. He saw the blind box with red light slowly emerging in the field after Killua came here. Got a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Successfully opened. Obtained. Contract certificate. Source world. Black butler. It also has two male protagonists, and one of them is also a butler, and they're all friends Black Butler, which is also very appropriate for the current environment. As for this contract certificate, contract proof, you can sign a contract with the devil. The specific contents of the contract are 1. You're absolutely not allowed to lie to the contractor. 2. You must obey the contractor's orders. 3. You must never betray the contractor and protect him until the end, until he achieves his goal. After signing the contract, a contract mark will be generated. The contract mark has the ability to command the devil to do anything, and it must be obeyed absolutely. But it is also a mark used by the devil to track the contractor, which means that the contractor will never be able to escape from the devil. Well, if it is a pervert like Hisoka, he will definitely have a special liking for this proof. But unfortunately, he is a normal person who has gotten rid of low-level interests. Hey, you guys are here too. Morak, Karapika, and Ordo. It's Leorio. Killua's greeting almost made Leorio want to keep him in the family. Hey, Molek. When did you come here? Are you done with your work? Well, that's about it, and it's not important. After saying a few words casually, Molek looked at Killua. It seems that you have dealt with everything on your side? Ah, there's no problem with my dad. Kia answered very relaxed and cheerfully. At the same time, his eyes flashed with a fiery luster full of eagerness. So, can you teach us the power of mind, Morak? The 5 of us are finally going to part here at the airport of the Republic of Batoria. Or rather, it is the farewell between 4 people and 1 person. Are you really not going to go to the Sky Arena with us, Leorio? Xiaojia looked at Leorio, who had already bought his ticket and was ready to go, and wanted to try again. Yes, if you win there, you can win a lot of bonuses. Even Killua encouraged him, tempting him with the money that Leorio couldn't refuse the most. No, let's go. Leo pushed his glasses up and said in a rare, handsome, and cool way, I have decided to study hard and try my best to get into a medical university. One of the main reasons I like money is because it helps me make up for the sky-high tuition fees at medical school. Now, I have obtained the hunter's license, and if I pass the exam, the tuition fee will be automatically reduced. I can come to the Sky Arena anytime, but the candidates for the medical university can't delay any longer. Leorio smiled and said, I have completed the goal of the previous stage. Next, I will start a new stage of my life. His goals and ambitions have never changed, even if there are financial benefits and temptations in front of him. He is safe, but it's just a little heartache for this reason. Leorio chose his own life path. Of course, as a parting gift, Morak also gave Leorio a copy of the manual on the training of mind ability that each of the Nasra family's guards had before. Thank you, Beixiang Idao, for your reward again. Thank you. You are awesome. Post views 503. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 143. Take him in. Karapika is hired. He is the vice captain. 143. Take him in. Karapika joins the team. He is now the vice captain. This way, by the time we reach Ukexin City in September, Liurio won't be able to learn only the entanglement and not even know the other 4 elements of telekinesis. So, what Hisoka said to you, Karapika, is that we agreed to meet in Ukexin City on September 1st, right? After watching Liurio go away, Xiaojia raised his head again and looked at another partner beside him. Maybe during the first test, Hisoka heard the conversation between me and Liurio and learned about the things between me and the Phantom Troop. So he came to me specially. Karapika explained the situation. So during the test, he told me that he was going to tell Spider. Everyone knows that Spider is synonymous with the Phantom Troop. So after the test, I found him and he told me directly that we should meet in Ukexin City. As he spoke, he also looked at Molek with a more determined look. If you want to have the power to catch the Spider at that time, only you, Molek, Turtle Sanin style can do it. Karapika had already made a decision when he introduced his style to Morak. This powerful and fast training method to become stronger quickly is exactly what he needs. He even hopes to become stronger right now and then seek revenge on the Phantom Troop. See, I told you I wasn't the only one curious about Kame Senryu. Killua put his hands behind his head. As a result, Molek said, I have my own family heritage and I don't need his method. That's because we were in your territory before. Molek didn't indulge him and raised his hand to give him a slap. This is your family's territory, and you want to follow me to practice. What will your father and grandfather think? It hurts I don't care what they think. Killua covered his head. I'll learn if I want to. Well, I actually think your school, Molek, seems to be better. If you want to learn, that's no problem. Molek nodded at them. Let's talk about it after you reach the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. 200 floors. Well, because after the 200th floor, it is the floor where the non-ability users are located. Only by stepping onto the 200th floor can you prove that you are qualified to learn an ability. It turns out that it has such rules. Killua was suddenly enlightened. No wonder his father threw him into the Sky Arena when he was 6 years old. He even specifically set a limit of 200 floors, and if he couldn't make it, he wouldn't be allowed to go home. As a result, he spent 2 years here. Now it seems that there is such a purpose. Well, a new target has appeared. Sky Arena, 200th floor, Xiaojia said with full enthusiasm. Then he saw Morak and Karapika took out a booklet. There are detailed techniques on the 4 basic elements of non-ability here. Once you have read and mastered them, I can help you start practicing non-ability. Molek said to Karapika. Xiaojia, Killua, it's not fair. The two of them raised their opinions together. Why can't Karapika learn none directly without having to fight his way to the 200th floor of the Sky Arena? That's right. Molek immediately glanced at the 2 little brats. That's because Karapika agreed to work for me, so I'm the one who hired him. Since he is an applicant, he should be paid. You 2 little freeloaders, I'm already being nice enough by confiscating your tuition fees. If you yell one more time, each of you will give me 1 billion geni, and I will continue to teach you the ability to read. Killua and Gon were silent upon hearing this. On the way, Karapika formally chose to submit an application for employment to the family where Morak belonged. Although, Karapika has not yet understood the family that Morak belonged to. But this kind of trust is already worth Morak, giving him the manual for the training of the ability to read in advance. Killua and Gon were silent, but they all puffed up their cheeks, secretly holding their breath to fight to the 200th floor as soon as possible. So, after separating from Liurio, the 4 of them came to the holy place in the hearts of fighting fans all over the world, the Sky Arena. More than 1 billion spectators enter the venue every year, and the venue has all kinds of facilities. In this fighting arena where only the winners can advance, an average of more than 4,000 people challenge the higher floors every day. Unlike the Hunter test, there are no strict rules here, just knock down your opponent. As your level increases, your bonus will also increase. This is a holy land for barbarians. Killa introduced it to Gon while taking him to fill out the registration form. Molek took Kurapika and went straight to the Nasra family's box. Well, as a VIP customer who can sit in the high VIP seats in the Olympia fighting tournament, the Nasra family also has its own industry in this sky arena. Is he the new person you found? Nyan was delighted with Morak's return, but before she could finish showing her happiness, she turned her attention to Kurapika again. He looks younger than you. A person's ability is only reflected by appearance and age. Molek smiled and said, just like you, miss, although you are young. The divination poems you wrote have promoted the development of our family and made the master a guest of honor of those underworld families. That is, when Nyong mentioned this thing that made her proud, she immediately showed a proud and happy look on her face. This family can't live without me. Without me, they will basically disperse. Yes, here. Morak made Nyan very happy again with just a few words. Kurapika also silently looked at the people present. Every one of them has a sense of urgency that makes me feel dangerous. Is this the effect of telekinesis? Kurapika thought to himself. It seems that the guards and bodyguards of the Nasra family all have telekinesis abilities. When you have free time, you can go to the Hunter website and check the details of this family. After getting the Hunter's license, Kurapika, who was smart, had already begun to maximize the convenience brought by this license. The first news he searched for was the Phantom Troop, Spider, Hisoka, Yuxin City, and the whereabouts of Red Eyes. The second was to search for information about Molek and Kame-san Ryu. If the first one could still find some half-understood information on the Hunter website, but the second one about Molek, the entire Hunter website, no, even on the entire internet, there was no news about Molek. It was as if it had been completely wiped out, leaving no trace. And this result also made Kurapika more silent, and then more determined to work on Morek's side. While Kurapika was observing everyone, Shachimono Dokino and others were also looking at Kurapika. Look at how different this person who made their old captain personally pick him up is. And among them, one person's eyes were the weirdest. After seeing her, Kurapika was obviously stunned. Shirba. He looked at this beautiful lady who had cooperated with him happily on Gunkanjima, who was very sharp and cool, and had first-class sniping skills. See you again. Shiba said hello a little uncomfortably. They were both candidates for the Hunter test, and she heard about the list of candidates who passed this year. Kurapika was one of them. She was eliminated in the 4th round of the test, but Kurapika passed. Now, the candidates who once took the test together and went through hardships together, one is now a professional hunter with a bright future, and the other is a bodyguard of a gangster family. Wait, Shirba suddenly realized. Morak went to pick up Kurapika, which means he also came to the Nasra family to apply for a bodyguard. Among professional hunters, there seems to be a category of contract hunters you got a hunter license, but you found the same job as me. When Shirba thought of this, he felt much better, but she still envied. Yes, we meet again, Kurapika nodded, and I didn't expect it to be here. Shachimono Dokino and the others looked at Kurapika and then at Shiba. These two people must have known each other before. This is Kurapika, a very nice guy I met when I was taking a hunter test. He has now obtained a hunter license. After coaxing Nyan, Morak briefly introduced him. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. Shirba is also one of the candidates for the hunter test. We all knew each other before. Now, Kurapika is also a member of our bodyguard team, and he is now the vice captain. Does anyone have any objections? No one said anything there. Very good. Molek nodded with satisfaction. The next itinerary remains unchanged. Continue to watch the game here. We will go back after Doru's match is over. Doru? Kurapika's heart moved. He still remembered the name that Hisoka had been thinking about before he left. It seems that Dolang is also working under Molek, and Molek has trained him very well. Even Shisuo is looking forward to fighting him. He thought about it and secretly observed everyone's expressions one by one. When he, a newcomer, was directly appointed as the vice captain by Morak, no one present objected. Shiba had also been here for a short time. Moreover, when she was on Gunkanjima, She worked very well with Kurapika and witnessed and recognized his ability, so naturally she would not have too many opinions. As for the others, it is simply to follow Molek's orders. What he said was what it was, and how he arranged it was how it was arranged. Kurapika also saw this. It seemed that Morak's power in this family was even higher than he imagined. Well, in the original plot, Dazone, the former captain of the guard, dared to kill the old butler casually when recruiting new bodyguards. He also crossed his legs, drank the red wine of light Nasla, and let Miss Nyan's maid Arisa and others serve him compared with what he had done. Molek felt that he was a very polite and considerate guy. He is only the deputy captain in name only and cannot effectively carry out deployment and arrangement work. Kurapika thought silently. Only by showing my ability and convincing these bodyguards can I achieve the effect I want. He was not overwhelmed by the position of deputy captain. Instead, he knew clearly what he should do and could see the reality calmly. In this world of non-users, besides wisdom and ability to handle things, the most important thing is strength. Concept, strength, thinking of this, Kurapika calmed down and took the training booklet given to him by Morak and read it silently. The most popular events in the Sky Arena at the moment are two major events. The first one is the return of Hua Shidolang, a talented fighter who once reached the 200th floor and has a high popularity. With his previous achievements, after returning again, he won the first game and soared directly to the 180th floor. After that, he challenged directly without stopping and successfully reached the 200th floor again in just a few days. I came here this time just for revenge. Facing the interviews from many reporters and media, Hua Shidolang said in a deep voice, "I will defeat Shi Suo completely." Without saying anything else, these two simple sentences showed his firm determination. The reporters naturally went to search for Shi Suo, another contestant above the 200th floor, to hear his opinion. But it seems that except for a few people who occasionally saw Shi Suo's figure appearing in the Sky Arena, there is no trace of him at all. However, this does not prevent these media from writing articles and publishing news, including but not limited to the love and hatred between the two people and various speculations such as Hua Shidolang's disappearance over the years. It can be said that the sales were so hot that they were sold out at one time. There were even people who started betting on the victory or defeat of the two. Well, after this period of time, the Sky Arena Casino, which had been deeply hurt by a man and had suffered a great loss of vitality, gradually recovered. But even so, when they mentioned that man, they still hated him. Fortunately, they have recently relied on another hotspot and finally managed to get some blood. Between Hua Shidolang and Shi Suo, the battle between the two became one of the hot topics at the moment. The other one was that a pair of super strong kids appeared in the Sky Arena. With just a push of one hand, they easily knocked their opponents to the ground. The silver-haired guy was okay. It was revealed that he started sprinting floors when he was 6 years old. In just 2 years, he reached the 200th floor. The other hedgehog-headed, silly-looking kid was more like a simple-minded, well-developed limb type with super strong body. The two of them worked together to climb floors, and they started to soar to more than 100 floors with consecutive victories. Of course, there were also some outstanding ones at the same time, such as a kid wearing a white training suit with thick eyebrows and big eyes, who was about the same age as them. But compared with the two kids, he seemed a little eclipsed and nothing could be seen. However, he didn't seem to have any psychological imbalance about this. On the contrary, when the three people met in the elevator leading to the ascending floors, he greeted the two people very seriously. "Hello, I'm Jishi." The child with thick eyebrows and big eyes introduced himself and posed like a signature. "My name is Kia. My name is Xiaojia. Please give me your guidance." The three of them were all about the same age, so they just went together. "Your competition is really eye-opening," Jishi exclaimed sincerely. "Know where you reached the 50th floor in just one battle, right?" "Yes, everyone is the same." "No, my kung fu is not up to par yet." Jishi shook his head seriously. "Speaking of which school did you two learn from?" He said, "I practice the Xin Yuan style of boxing. Heart source flow. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 144. Killua we meet again. Karapika, you can actually read. When will I be able to learn this kind of power? 144 Kilua. We meet again. Karapika, you can actually read. When will I be able to learn this kind of power? Kilua and Gon paused at the same time when they heard the name. Then they looked at each other immediately. It seemed that Molek had mentioned this to them before when the hunter test was over. The telekinesis school that most professional hunters practiced was the Heart Source School, founded by President Netero. And this guy, who was about the same age as them, could easily defeat his opponent and reach the same level as them. And he also practiced the Heart Source School boxing. Gon and Kilua don't think it's just a coincidence that they share the same school name. It seems that this person named Jishi is also practicing the ability of mindfulness. They both saw this meaning in each other's eyes. Swish! They all turned their heads and stared at Jishi with shining eyes under his puzzled and even stunned gaze. Your mightiness, what do you mean by this? Jishi was frightened by the two people's direct gazes and couldn't help swallowing and asking. A nothing. Kilua looked him up and down and replied casually, "We just want to see what the performance of the Heart Source style boxing looks like." The performance of boxing? Shouldn't this be observed carefully during the fight? Can it be seen just by looking at it with the eyes? Teacher Yun Gu never told me that. Big question marks popped up on Toki's confused little head. Kilua and his friends have been eager to explore the world of psychic users since the hunter test. Especially Kilua, after returning home. He carefully sensed and observed. It goes without saying that the people in the family who know psychic are Dad and Grandpa. Mom and Wudong are also there. But what Kilua finds most difficult to accept is that his younger brother Kurt, and the 943 Canaria, who is about the same age as him, they both know how to use psychic. On the contrary, he, the dignified brother Kurt, the third son of a Zoldyck family, did not receive any teachings in this regard. Oh, by the way, it seems that Mi-Ji also did not activate his Nin ability. However, he is not important. For this reason, Kilua, who felt that he was concealed and kept in the dark, had been gritting his teeth in hatred. He swore in secret that when he became stronger, he would definitely arrest his entire family and put them in jail. That's why he couldn't wait to have Molek teach him everything about Nun. Even before in his house, in the housekeeper's office, he couldn't hold back. Not to mention that now, a living guy who was suspected of having learned Nun was right in front of him. Kilua had seen so many Nin abilities, either like Molek and his Soka, who were impossible to approach, or those in his own family who were hiding everything from him and could not be trusted at all. Only Tomoki was the one who came to his door. Kilua's two cat eyes wanted to shoot out an X-ray scan to see Tomoki's whole body clean. Sure enough, I still can't see anything. Kilua was eager to try it out, so he took his hands out of his pockets and decided to test it out. Kilua, Xiaojia thought that Kilua's current action was a little too offensive. When he was about to stop Kilua, Jishi, are they your friends? A gentle voice suddenly came from behind the two of them. Acting master. Jishi immediately came back to his senses and made a polite gesture when he heard this. He raised his head and kindly reminded, "Your shirt is out again." "Oops, sorry." "Sorry." The acting master quickly straightened his clothes and pushed his glasses up. These two are Xiaojia and Kilua. Jishi introduced them. "Hello, my name is Yungu." Jishi's acting master Yungu put his hands behind his back. His eyes narrowed into a smile and said kindly, "I didn't expect that besides Jishi, there were other children coming here to participate in the competition." Yungu walked with them. "Why did you come here?" "We just want to get stronger." "Of course, it's to learn the ability of Nun." "This is Kilua." While the two of them were answering, they were also looking at Yungu, Jishi's acting master, the one who taught Jishi the Heart Source Fist. "So this Yungu is also a Nin user? Do you read it?" Yungu paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "So you became so interested in him after you heard Jishi say that he practiced the Shinjin-Ryu boxing, right? It seems that you have also gained some understanding of the sex of telekinesis practice." Xiaojia scratched his head after hearing this. "I can't say I understand it. So far, we only know of two schools of thought in this regard. One is the Kamesenru, the other is the Heart Source of Kamesenru." Yungu muttered the name of this school to himself, vaguely, as if he had heard it somewhere before. This also successfully attracted Yungu's interest. Not to mention, he had originally accepted the commission from the Hunter Association to teach the two people the ability of none. Can you tell me about the Kame Senryu? Of course, if it's inconvenient, forget it. Well, it's not inconvenient, and Molek didn't tell us that we can't tell outsiders. Molek, when this name passed by Yungu's ears, he suddenly remembered where he had heard of it. It was his elderly teacher who had complained to him after they met by chance. Something like, young people nowadays are getting more and more rude. Of course, Yungu just listened silently and did not give any opinions. Until the end, when his elderly teacher left, he specifically mentioned this to him. Don't always be complacent and think that your Xin Yuan school is the most powerful school in the world. You have to know that the one who is truly considered the best in the world is not this school, but the founder of the school, President Netero. From what I know so far, a sect called Kame Senryu is not necessarily weaker than Arcona Subaru. At that time, Yungu didn't care. He was an orthodox Xin Yuan school disciple, and his cultivation was profound. Naturally, he had a high sense of identity and pride in his own school. But now, not only his elderly master mentioned it, but the two good seedlings in front of him also mentioned it. It seems that this Kame Senryu is really something. Yungu actually wanted to meet Mr. Molek, the old master who had been thinking about him all the time and who had been nagging in his ear before they parted. Hey, Kilogun, you guys are here. Speak of the devil. The devil is here. They turned around and saw Morak and Kurapika coming to this floor. Molek, Kula, Xiaojia waved his arms and was about to greet the two of them. But before Kurapika finished calling out his name, he suddenly stopped. This breath is Xiaojia's eyebrows slightly raised, and Kilua's pupils slowly shrank. In the hunter test with Brother Kilua, the aura released seems like it has the same dangerous aura as Ilmi. They both gave their own judgments, and then they immediately reacted in their minds. Is this what it means? Kurapika, he learned to read? Looking at the two people with wide eyes, Kurapika smiled apologetically. Sorry, Gon Killua, I scared you. I just learned this power, and my aura has not stabilized yet. With Kurapika's intelligence, after reading the basic knowledge about the ability of none, he made sure that his determination was not shaken. His physical fitness was also no problem after the training of Gate of the Underworld. He was ready, so with the help of Morak, he successfully opened the sperm hole and controlled the leakage of his life energy. He only needed to stabilize this aura completely, and he would be a real nin user. After seeing the shock on Gon and Killua's faces, Kurapika was also moved. After just awakening this power, didn't he have the same expression as the two? It turns out that there is such a power in this world. At that time, he looked at his powerful fist in disbelief. But then, his eyes immediately turned red. The spiders in the Phantom Troop used this power to kill my compatriots. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. With such a powerful force, instead of taking risks and fulfilling his dreams, he slaughtered and tortured innocent people, staining his hands with blood. Kurapika couldn't understand or accept it. So, he planned to use this same powerful force to make those guys who hurt his people pay the price. Looks so awesome, Xiao Jie was still mumbling. This was the first time he had seen a person who had just learned in at such a close distance, especially since this person was their companion and had clearly come here with them on the same airship. But in the blink of an eye, he had already come into contact with another world. Is that Jin's world? Xiao Jie's eyes gradually lit up. He understood a little bit why his father liked the job of hunter so much. It was a world completely different from the outside world, more bizarre. This kind of power was an important part of that world. I think Jin would have this kind of power. Xiaoji extended his thoughts to his own father on the other hand. Killua is about to get angry. The Ilmakai, the Watonkai, Canaria also know it, and now even Kurapika has learned it. Killua's heart felt like it was scratched by a cat, scratching his heart with his claws. When will I be able to learn this kind of power? The 200th floor. I must reach the 200th floor quickly. It would have been fine if there was no Kurapika as a reference, but he learned in so quickly, and it seemed very simple. Well, with Killua's confidence, if Kurapika could learn it so quickly and so easily, he must not be much different. He is now only a thin piece of window paper away from the power of none. He only needs a switch and a trigger. It was with this thought that he was stimulated and began to feel anxious. "We are here to check on you and cheer you up," Karapika said, observing Killua and Gon's condition. "It seems that they are not bad. Even though there are so many fighters in the world gathered here, Gon and Killua are still top-notch. There is no need to worry too much. You must be Mr. Molek." Yingu and Molek started chatting. Yingu pushed his glasses and looked at Molek seriously, then smiled and stretched out his hand. "I heard my master mention you." "Really? Did Biscuit say bad things about me behind my back?" Molek shook hands with him. Yingu said softly. "Did Master ever mention me to you?" "No, mainly because you have traces of Biscuit on your body." "Heavy traces?" Yingu thought for a moment, then smiled bitterly. "Master always likes to compare people to rough stones. Her teaching to me, in her words, is also the carving of the rough stone." So in Yingu, there is a very distinct Basiji teaching method. This is just like in the martial arts novels of Molek's previous life. Just by looking at the attire and characteristics, you can tell which school the master is from. "So, did she ever complain about me when she was chatting with you?" "Well, if I say the teacher didn't, would you believe it, Mr. Molek?" "I don't believe it, haha." Yingu smiled. He felt that Mr. Molek was not an ordinary person. No wonder his master cared so much. He rarely saw Master Biscuit nagging someone so much. The two chatted with each other again. Maybe they felt that they were more speculative, or they thought Molek was also a wonderful person to communicate with. Yingu sat in the audience with Molek and Karapika, prepared to watch the next few matches. Xiaojia, needless to say, knocked his opponent down with an easy push. On the other hand, it was Killua. As expected, he faced off against Jishi. Then he wanted to knock Jishi down easily with a hand knife. But to his surprise, after 2 consecutive hand knives, Jishi struggled to stand up. Moreover, he looked determined and took a stance. At that moment, Killua seemed to feel something, and his hair stood on end, and the silver hair on his head exploded. "Cover your ears," Molek told Karapika, and shut off his hearing. Karapika didn't understand why Molek did this, but his greatest virtue was to be obedient. At the moment when he covered his ears, Jishi, Yingu, who was sitting nearby, suddenly stood up, opened his mouth wide, and shouted loudly, shocking the entire half of the field. In the seats here, except for the calm Molek and Karapika who covered his ears, everyone else was shocked by Yingu's shouting. Jishi on the stage below paused when he heard the sound, and then slowly released his strength and lost his temper. In the end, this battle was still won by Killua, but he was not particularly happy about it. When that guy changed his posture, I felt the same murderous aura as Ilmi. After the fight, Killua confirmed with Gon that Tomoki can definitely use none. Killua felt a sharp pain in his teeth. He had never thought about it before, but how come a random guy, a kid, can use none? Killua is obviously more talented, but he was exposed to this power later than others. It was simply unbearable for him. No, he had to fight to the 200 floor as soon as possible. Furious, he continued his challenge to the higher-ups. On the other side, Yingu was also scolding Jishi, who was getting off his seat in front of him. "Jishi, I told you not to use refine." Yingu's expression was rarely so serious. "I'm sorry. Acting master." Jishi buried his head deeply. "I'm really sorry." Post views. 502. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 145. Reach the 200th floor. Learn none. Meet Nyan. Gon and Killua are alive. 145 reaching the 200th floor. Learning none. Meeting Nyan. Gon and Killua are alive. Because the opponent was too strong, well, there's nothing wrong with wanting to win. Yingu squatted down and patted Jishi's shoulder. "But you should look further ahead at the top. Not just now. Those who are confused by the victory in front of them will only bury their own talents." Yingu said, "If you stay here, you must be prepared to lose 10 times in a row." "Yes." Jishi bowed again. On the other side, Molek, who had watched the whole teaching process, seemed to ask Karapika beside him, "How?" The latter nodded first, then shook his head, Indeed, we should not be fooled by the victory in front of us, but Karapika said in a low voice, "Every battle I fight from now on will be a risk of my life. I'm no longer qualified to lose any battle." After seeing the power of none, Karapika understood more deeply how cruel this world is. The battle between none users can no longer be simply summarized by the word dangerous. In facing the more brutal Phantom Troop, for revenge, all Karapika can do is to win every battle. Yingu's words brought Kurapika more insights. Let him calm down more and practice the power he can have. Xiaoji and Killua were also stimulated and continued their sprint challenge. After putting away the blind box, Molek accompanied Nyan again to watch the game after game. Well, when Killua was fighting with Jishi, Yingu stood up and yelled. A blind box flashing red light had already appeared on the field. After all, it was the first time in the original plot that the ability of none was encountered, which was a very meaningful and influential moment. A blind box flashing red light also appeared. Got a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Successfully activated, you will get top-level observation hockey. Source World, One Piece. As another popular anime released in the same year, and even the world's #1, One Piece also introduced another power system in addition to the Devil Fruit. That is hockey. All humans have the potential power. This power is an innate ability. Momentum, murderous intent, fighting spirit. When you manipulate these invisible senses, willpower can be turned into weapons. This powerful force is called hockey. Is this introduction quite familiar? This power system is simply carved out of the same mold as in. And there are 3 types of hockey: observation hockey, armament hockey, and conqueror hockey. Let's not talk about the latter 2 for now, just the hockey of this observation hockey. It can make a person's 5 senses become sharper and then derive super senses. The hockey that can detect the breath and emotional changes of surrounding creatures can also be used to predict and avoid danger. Isn't this equivalent to the combination of Kamesin's flow perception and the circle in telekinesis? It can be said that after careful study of the major power systems, it will be found that they are basically of the same origin. It's nothing more than the different abilities and functions they play. Just like this, observation hockey, it can sense attacks, predict the opponent's next move, sense the strength of creatures, sense the emotions and thoughts of creatures, sense the position and number of objects outside the field of vision, etc. I won't say much. The top level can predict the future. It can see part of the future, compared with Nyan's predictive ability. This is better at applying in combat. As the blind boxes are open one after another, Morak's fighting methods are becoming more and more abundant, even though he has never fought with anyone. Or in other words, it can make him fight seriously. After getting the blind box, Morak took Nyan with him, followed by Karapika and Shachimono, and watched the battle between Hua Shidolang. Well, with the foundation of the previous challenge, Hua Shidolang returned to the Sky Arena. After instantly killing his opponent on the first floor, he was directly sent to the 180th floor by the judges. Then he went straight up to the 190th floor, the 200th floor, and the 190th floor. After reaching the 200th floor, everyone has a 90-day, 3-month battle preparation period. You can choose to participate in the competition on any day during this period. Shisuan naturally also learned about Hua Shidolang's recent movements. In the end, after considering various reasons, the two agreed to formally invite each other to fight in more than a month. After submitting an application to the official of the Sky Arena, they naturally agreed very happily. So, the two officially decided to start the battle on April 12th. In the blink of an eye, time passed slowly. 2 weeks have passed, and the Sky Arena is still bustling. And this period of time is also a rare happy time for Nyan in recent years. He followed Molek to eat, drink, play, and have fun in this Sky Arena, and then watch the players one after another. During this time, she even raised 2 so-called electronic pets. Come on, Killua, Gon. Beat them hard for me. In the VIP audience, Nyan waved her hands vigorously, cheering and cheering for Killua and Gon below. During this time, Killua and Gon relied on their impressive talents and strength to successfully fight all the way to the 100th floor. The hype and evaluation of them from the Sky Arena is. Players Gon and Killua were unstoppable in scoring all the way. They were simply unstoppable. They have won 7 games and won all of them, and directly won to the 150th floor. How long can such luck last? Although Xiaojia and Killua did not admit that it was luck, they relied entirely on their strength. Especially Killua. It took him 2 months to reach the 150th floor. Now, in less than half a month, he easily made it. But this did not prevent the two from gaining a large number of supporters. 9 is one of them. After all, she is a face control, and she was easily fooled by Kororo in the original version. Then Killua and Xiaojia are younger than 9. Facing this guy who could be called a little Shota, she has no resistance at all. The two of them are like 9's electronic pets fighting crickets. If they keep winning, 9 will definitely support them. But if they lose, then 9 may have to change a new toy. Fortunately, Killua and Xiaojia finally lived up to expectations and went straight up to the 200th floor now. Can you tell us about Nin? In the private room of the Nasra family, Killua stared at Molek with a pair of cat eyes and asked the question that had been accumulated in his heart for a long time. Xiaojia beside him also nodded. The two of them fought all the way up so nonstop just to learn this ability as soon as possible. Even Kurapika has officially mastered it and acquired this strange power. After the two walked into the room, they saw Kurapika sitting in the corner. He closed his eyes and tried to feel the power with his heart. Moreover, at this time, his breath was restrained and hidden deep in his body. Nothing could be seen from his appearance alone. Obviously, Kurapika has now become a formal Nin user. This also made Killua even more envious. After arriving in this room, he asked directly, "What, don't you have any understanding of Nin yet?" Molek looked at them with some amusement. "I saw that you've been going to Jishi and Mr. Yungu a lot during this period." TSK, that guy is hiding his words and refuses to tell us the truth. Killua was very unhappy when he mentioned this. After meeting Jishi, there was a ready-made Nun user. Killua automatically transformed into the king of ideas and thought he could go to Yungu first to understand the concept of Nun. Besides, he is also an orthodox practitioner of the heart source stream, and it seems that he has some connection with Molek. In addition, he successfully taught Jishi, so he should be reliable. Unexpectedly, the two of them went to Yungu with a sincere curiosity instead of a real learning mentality. The latter also saw what the two were thinking and also noticed they're somewhat eager for quick success. He did not really tell them about Nun, and what he told Xiaojia and the others was all lies. It was his own abridged version of the 4 great lines, point tongue refining instead of the general version of absolute practice. To read exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. No, entanglement. Remember, absolute. Go through practice and reach effect. This is the correct step to practice telekinesis. Even if what Yungu said was fine, and the movements he demonstrated to Killua and the others were all real. But there is no way to explain how to activate telekinesis and how to use this power. Therefore, Gon and Killua, who hit a snag with Yungu, could only find Molek by going to the 200th floor. Well, your performance during this period is indeed outstanding. Molek stroked his chin. Very good. Since you have already successfully reached the 200th floor of the Sky Arena as agreed, it is time to tell you the Nun. Upon hearing this, both Killua and Gon were refreshed. Then they looked at each other and saw the excitement in their eyes. But before that, Killua and Gon, this one, however, made the two people feel a little uneasy. You just need to do one small thing for me. Tiny things? Killua and Gon stared at each other. Then Killua suddenly realized, no. What if you were just trying to delay time? Or what you tell us is just some superficial version of the mind, which is of no use to us at all. Just like what Yungu said to them before. At this time, Killua's mind is still very bright and alert. Good. You haven't forgotten to find the trap of the word game. Molek nodded approvingly. First, I can guarantee that if you do it, I can help you understand the power of mindfulness. Second, you have no choice but to trust me now. Molek was not panicked at all, and even sat down and crossed his legs. Of course, if you are willing to find that Yungu and let him tell you the truth, that is up to you. Killua and Gon. They really don't seem to have any choice. Okay, what's the matter? They both asked at the same time. It's very simple. A smile slowly appeared on Molek's face. 5 minutes later, in another room of the Nasra family, wow, it's real, Gon and Killua are alive. Seeing her Tamagotchi standing in front of her, Nyan rushed over. She was so excited, so cute and handsome. Nyan was like a hamster, constantly circling around the two of them. This made Gon and Killua feel very uncomfortable. Molek was watching from behind with a smile on his face, and even Kurapika smiled dotingly. These muscles, these lines, when Nyan tried to lift up Xiaojia's clothes with shining eyes, the latter hurriedly covered his clothes and stepped back. At this time, Molek's timely rescue voice was heard. Well, just take a look. The body is the most important weapon of a fighter, but you can't let others touch it casually. Yeah, I understand. Nyong nodded repeatedly, as if she understood. Then she smiled and took out a lot of paper and pens from behind. Come, both of you sign for me. Nyan looked at the two with sparkling eyes and said, and write, I wish you the cutest, most beautiful, and most gentle in the world. Miss Nyan, be happy every day. Xiaojia and Killua's eyes twitched wildly. But for the power of mind, they could only helplessly take the paper and pen and write on it. This is really not easy at all, Xiaojia was mumbling there, and Killua beside him nodded fiercely. What do you mean just come here to meet the eldest lady of the underworld family who supports them and get an autograph? This is even more difficult to deal with than fighting with their opponents in the ring. At least, they feel particularly awkward now. But fortunately, Molek did not make it too difficult for them. After simply signing, he easily dismissed Nyan, who was cheering with the autograph in his arms, on the pretext that they still needed to rest and train. Well, now you're not so anxious and impatient anymore. Returning to the original room, looking at the two people who kept wiping their sweat, Molek also smiled and said, so next, are you ready to feel this power? Ready. After what happened to Nyan, the two finally calmed down and responded in unison. Very good. Molek nodded with satisfaction again. Then Kurapika, Morak called his dearest vice captain over. The work of opening the Jingpor and guiding is left to you. Under the expressions of Killua and Gon, Morak acted very casually as a hands-off boss. Anyway, he had taught Kurapika everything he should teach. It was just right for him to teach Gon and Killua instead of himself. Moreover, Kurapika, who had full wisdom ability, might teach more carefully and better than Morak. The level and effect of teaching would be even better. And most importantly, Kurapika was someone that Gon and Killua could trust completely. It was completely appropriate for him to do the work of opening the Jingpor. Not to mention, after the two opened the Jingpor, they would definitely want to continue to learn more about Nun. Instead of letting Morak do everything himself, it would be better to let Kurapika lead them. He taught Kurapika, and Kurapika taught them a virtuous circle. Perfect. This is how you can play the role of your subordinates after you have them. When Morak returned to Nyan's room again, you are simply amazing. Nyan was so excited that she rushed over. In her arms, she was holding the autographs that the two had just signed. Molek hugged her. The latter continued to flutter in Molek's arms. I didn't expect you to actually get their autographs. You even called them over. You know, there are many media outlets that want to interview them, but none of them have been able to do so. Nyan became more and more excited as she spoke, and the more she spoke, the more she realized the value of the signature in her arms. She held it tightly, full of excitement. Post views, 527, start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 146. Everything is for you. Touch Nyan. Goodbye Hisoka. Amazing talent and potential. 146, everything is for you. Touch Nyan. Goodbye Hisoka. Amazing talent and potential. Isn't this all for you? Molek also smiled and said, as long as it is what you like, I will try my best to satisfy you. Who makes you our most lovely eldest daughter? Molek's words were enough to make Nyan happy all year long. With Nyan's tearful look, she said, in this world, besides my father, you are the best to me, Molek. Of course, she is still a young girl. It is easy to satisfy her. Just like that, Morak was using Killua and Gon's autographs to amuse Nyan. Next door, Kurapika was earnestly teaching the two about telekinesis. After all, these were companions who could share weal and woe, life and death, and could trust each other with their backs. Kurapika was naturally very attentive and told the two of them all his understanding and insights. Fortunately, Gon and Killua are both very talented people. After easily understanding, accepting, and digesting Kurapika's words, Kurapika also officially started to practice, helping Killua and Gon to successfully open their sperm holes. So after tonight, two new telekinesis users appeared again in the Sky Arena. Ding! As the elevator door slowly opened, two energetic figures stepped onto the floor of the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. We finally learned how to read. Killua was filled with emotion and felt that he had gone through so much to get here. When he was 8 years old, he could have had the opportunity to learn none as long as he stepped into this place. But he was delayed for 4 years and missed such a long time. That's right, Xiaojia's eyes sparkled. This time, I finally got to know Jin's world. Moreover, this also gave him more confidence to find Jin. After he found Jin, he would walk up to him, straighten his chest, and proudly tell him that he was following in his footsteps and was also a professional hunter and a psychic user. Okay, let's go. Killua was even more ambitious, awakening the blessing of telekinesis and combined with his body. It really made him feel like he was superior to others. Let's take a good look at what kind of people are the non-users on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. As he said this, he and Xiaojia almost took the crab step and walked towards the inside. However, before they could take a few more steps, this murderous aura is the murderous aura coming from the corridor directly shattered the confidence and pride of the two people. Is this the murderous intent of a powerful psychic user? Are all the guys on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena so scary? When the two of them put away their complacency and became serious and alert again, and continued to move forward, a thin and slender familiar figure appeared at the end of the corridor. It seems that you have learned to read without being baptized. The man smiled, half covering his face with one hand and holding a red poker card in the other. Hisoka, Xiaojia, and Killua both looked stern at the same time. It was unexpected, but also somewhat understandable. The understanding was that with Hisoka's strength, it was easy to explain how he could release such murderous aura. As for the unexpected, why are you here? Killua asked cautiously. Of course, the cards led me here. What? Because the red thread that closely connects your fate and mine has appeared. Hiso chuckled and turned out a 3 of hearts. It represents the 3 people wrapped in love. Killua and Gon. The two of them suddenly felt a chill. Of course, this is not only the arrangement of fate, but also my own arrangement. Shisaw stroked his hair gently. You bought the airship ticket here online, right? I can immediately find out the whereabouts of anyone by just using my hunter's license to search. I took a private spaceship and came here to wait for you too, because I had expected you to come here. Killua gradually recovered from the murderous aura. I remember that you're going to fight Hua, Shirdolang, under Molek here, right? He guessed the general result. So, you also fought to the 200th floor of this Sky Arena? I'm a frequent visitor here, Hisoka corrected, and I've been on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena for more than just 1 or 2 days. Once again, I give you a piece of advice as a senior. His face once again showed that perverted expression of wanting to taste the sweet fruit. As beginners, it is too early for you to enter this floor. Although I can imagine that it was Molek who helped you get in touch with the mind, but you can practice with him for a while and see how it goes. At this point, Shisua's face showed obvious desire again. After Hua Shirdolang reached the 200th floor, he accepted various media interviews with high spirits and challenged him. Shisua secretly observed from a distance. Although he could not really see the detailed state, Shisua had a hunch. The current Hua Shirdolang was exactly the fruit he had been eager to obtain after planting it casually. Hua Shirdolang has been practicing with Molek for less than 2 years and has already grown to this point. If these 2 young fruits with more potential can practice well with Molek, West Hisoka's body began to tremble uncontrollably again. I wonder what kind of delicious food they will burst out. Thinking of this, Hisoka couldn't help but lick the corner of his mouth with his tongue. Killua and Gon, Sure enough, this pervert Hisoka started to go crazy again. No one knew what was going on in his head day after day. The two of them would naturally not give up setting foot on this floor just because of Hisoka's words. Moreover, Killua had already given up registering once before. If he still couldn't register this time, then there would be no chance in the future. The two of them ran directly past Hisoka, who was still trembling and almost rolling his eyes, and ran to the sign-in area. As they passed by, in the corner of the shadow well, this time, Jido and Lebejuo were not killed. Ever since they played a fake match in the Sky Arena with Molek, they knew that they might not be able to escape the pursuit and malicious revenge of the Sky Arena. They packed up their things and ran away overnight. In order to avoid being hunted down, they even changed their outfits. In short, they don't know where they live in this world now. It won't be here anyway. But without Lebejuo, there might be Gabeisho. These guys who have been baptized and not died on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena, but have been seriously injured and are struggling to stay here. Naturally, they have to do everything possible to win every victory for themselves, including but not limited to targeting newcomers who have only a vague understanding of telekinesis or even no understanding of it at all. Xiaojia and Killua naturally became the targets among them, and this will also be the training that they must undergo on their way to learn telekinesis. Just when the two were filling out the forms on the 200th floor, in the room of the Nasra family, Kurapika also found Molek again. How about it? Is it shocking? Molek was sorting out his gains from the blind box, looking at how to combine them to be more powerful, and smiled at Kurapika, who was still a little dazed. The talent and potential that both of them possessed. Kurapika was silent for a moment before he slowly exhaled. I had expected this, but I didn't expect until now. He still seemed to be seeing Killua and Gon opening their sperm holes. It was amazing, a huge and surging life energy. And Kurapika watched the two of them easily gather this energy. They officially entered the world of non-users. Such talent and potential were extremely amazing. It was so amazing that Kurapika hesitated. You are worried that you can't teach them well, right? Molek saw his concerns and asked, they deserve a better teacher. Kurapika, who was already under pressure and afraid of delaying Killua and Gon, said softly. To read the exciting novel, go to Falu Novel Network. On the one hand, Kurapika felt that he was not qualified to be a competent teacher. On the other hand, he still had his own training, and his next focus was on the Phantom Troop. He also didn't want to have too much involvement with his former companions and involve them. As for Molek, he had made it very clear when he recruited himself. This is just the most normal duty of a contract hunter, the most normal trading relationship. Although Kurapika knew that this was just a reason given by Molek, so that he would not have too much psychological burden and could deal with the Phantom Troop without any scruples. But he had no choice but to accept this favor. He really needed such a job, which would not only give him the opportunity to contact the Phantom Troop, find the eyes of the missing tribesmen, but also make him stronger. Teaching myself and taking care of my work, Kurapika kept all these things in mind, waiting to repay Molek after he completed his goal. You don't have to worry too much about the teaching. These are just the concepts for beginners to learn. You won't go wrong if you follow the steps. Molek said, besides, I have said before that after you pass the hunter test, there will be a professional hunter to teach you. Ding, ding, ding. Before he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door of the house. Isn't it coming? Molek chuckled and motioned for the people outside to come in. Then Yungu walked in under Kurapika's surprised eyes. Indeed, no instructor is more suitable than the orthodox disciple of the Heart Source School. You taught Gon and Killua how to read, right? His shirt was still tucked into his pants. When Yungu arrived, he asked directly. That's right, Molek nodded calmly. I promised them before that I would help them become non-users when they fight to the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. They also fulfilled the promise I made to them. Honestly speaking, from Killua's gate of the underworld to strengthen his physique to the baptism on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena, I feel that this is the standard procedure for non-users. Only when the physique is qualified and the fighting skills reach the range of more than 200 floors can one have the basics to become a non-user. No wonder Netero comes here to show up at every Olympia fighting tournament. After all, The 200 floors here are also the standard to test whether a person can become a non-user. An Azoldic family, together with this sky arena, were built in the Republic of Batoria. Killua has been challenging floors in the sky arena since he was 6 years old, and Silva said that he can only go back after reaching the 200th floor. These can be seen. The sky arena is such a standard in definition for people with nin abilities. But the two of them are too impetuous now. Yingu also knew this, but he didn't think this was the best time for the two to learn. I have adjusted their mentality. Well, I adjusted it with Nyan's love for Tamagotchi. But reading is not a joke. Yingu shook his head and said in a deep voice. He still disagreed. What you said may be right, but that is only true for ordinary people. Molek smiled leisurely. Don't confuse those rare geniuses who are 1 in a million with ordinary geniuses. The potential and talent they have shown far exceeds your understanding of genius. Genius. Yingu couldn't help but raise his head. In his eyes, Jishi was already an excellent disciple picked out of 100,000. And 1 in a million, Mr. Molek. Was it the same when you were learning the ability to read? Yingu suddenly asked this question. That's about the same. Molek smiled and didn't answer directly. Is that so? Yingu was thoughtful. Perhaps Mr. Morak saw himself in Killua and Gon. So he thought it was okay to teach them then now, right? If Mr. Yingu is worried about the money, he can also go to them. After all, this is also your job as a professional hunter. But I believe that Killua and Gon will definitely let you know how good they are. Bilibalibalai, before Molek could finish his words, his phone rang again. It seems that they may have sensed that the 200th floor is unusual. He smiled and raised his mobile phone to Yingu. After successfully moving into the 200th floor, Killua and Gon learned about the battle application system, which gave them 90 days of rest time. They decided not to act rashly. They wanted to observe how other Nun users fought each other. They also wanted to practice and improve their own Nun. Following Morak and Kurapika, they had such a good way to practice right in front of them. Of course, they were not arrogant or impatient. They would just make themselves stronger first, instead of just continuing to be a rookie who had just entered this world. However, in their room, the TV was showing it was telling them to apply for the battle match tomorrow. If it were the two of them in the past, they might not have thought too much about it. They would just fill out the battle application form foolishly. But this time, Kurapika, who taught them how to activate the ability of Nun, was known for his steadiness and wisdom. He warned the two of the dangers and cruelty of this world of Nun users. So after seeing this situation, the two of them were alert. The first thought that came to their minds was that something was wrong. This was obviously different from the rules that the staff lady at the sign-in counter at the Sky Arena told them. Therefore, faced with this situation, they made a very wise choice. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 147. The battle that everyone is looking forward to. Kame Ryu's special training. Kame Ryu's special weight-bearing suit. 147. The battle that everyone is looking forward to. Kame Ryu's special training. Kame Ryu's special weight-bearing suit. Killua immediately contacted the Sky Arena staff and asked him what the TV message about asking them to apply for a match tomorrow meant. Didn't they say that we have 90 days to prepare after reaching the 200th floor? Does it start from the end of the battle tomorrow? Killa explained the situation clearly on the phone, and Mo Lu asked this question. That's right, our Sky Arena official has always used the battle application system. The staff lady on the other end of the phone still had a gentle and sweet voice. Even if we have special circumstances such as system changes, we will only notify you according to the contact information you left. Since many fighters above the 200th level often choose to practice outside and rarely return to their rooms, so we will never do something like leaving messages on TV. As soon as this detailed explanation came out, Killua understood it instantly that if you don't do this, then the only one who can do this it's the other fighters on this floor. They said it in unison. They both thought of this. But why are they doing this? Kia frowned. We've already come here and haven't done anything, but they're so impatient for us to fight them. Isn't it said that the world of psychic users is very cruel and dangerous? Why are they so anxious to face unknown opponents like us? Killa and Gon couldn't figure it out. And the smart thing about them was that if they couldn't figure out, they would ask someone who knew. So they called Molek. This is because many fighters who have just entered the 200th floor because they don't know the existence of none after fighting against none users, they're severely injured and destroyed. But this also opens the sperm hole. As a result, some of these people withdrew sadly. Some continued to practice with renewed vigor, and some lingered on to keep everything they had gained in the Sky Arena. They're trying their best to stay here. Because they have to play 10 games, they're targeting the newcomers who have just been promoted to the 200th floor. They're also living the life they hate the most, intending to inflict their suffering on the newcomers who come in later. Compared to the players with strong Nun abilities who have already established themselves in these 200 floors, the newcomers are undoubtedly a more easy bargaining chip for them to win the battle. Killua understood again. In short, they were treated as prey, used to win games, and most importantly, they were underestimated. It's really annoying. Both of them were unhappy about this. Killua even grumbled. "Aren't you treating us like children?" Xiaojia. "Is it possible that we are the children ourselves?" Although the two were unhappy, they were not so upset that they lost their minds. The more you lose your mind and accept the challenge with enthusiasm, the more likely you are to fall into their trap. It would be better to hide for a while and then come to teach them a lesson after you adapt to the telekinesis and become stronger. So, the two of them started their monotonous and serious training life again. They mostly received instruction from Kurapika and Molek. To their surprise, even Yungu joined in. "I am a master sent by the Hunter Association to teach you the ability of none." After, Yungu revealed his identity and showed his ID to prove his origin, Killua still didn't trust him. Or rather, he was still upset about Yungu's deception before. Yungu seemed to know this, so he also made a statement first. "I will be watching while Kurapika teaches you telekinesis. If there is nothing wrong with Professor Kurapika, then I won't have any more to say. But if there are any questions or omissions, I will add them in due course. After you have learned the telekinesis well, I will leave naturally." This approach has already demonstrated his sincerity, and there is no problem. For this reason, the two of them were taught by two telekinetic users, one professor and one observer. The learning and improvement of telekinesis is also advancing by leaps and bounds. And Yungu also gradually understood during this stage. Why did Molek say that they were geniuses that only 1 in a million people appeared? Because their talent is really amazing. Therefore, even when some of the teaching methods and experiences that Molek gave through Kurapika seemed a bit radical to Yungu and might make the two of them a bit too hasty, he just opened his mouth and didn't say anything more. Just because the two people in front of him can really accept it. Not only did they accept it, but they were also like a crazy sponge, eagerly absorbing all the knowledge about telekinesis. Even they digested it very well. It was also very fast. It didn't take long for them to complete the practice of entanglement and absolute of the 4 basic elements of telekinesis. Even practice is almost mastered, and all this took less than a month. It can be said that Yungu watched them practice to this point. It also refreshed his understanding of genius. Similarly, the sentence that Molek added to him later was regarded as a criterion. Geniuses cannot be judged by common sense. Yungu sighed and muttered this sentence. In fact, his work here is basically almost done. According to the regulations given by the association, it is only necessary for the candidates who pass the test to know, understand, and use the mind. As for how to practice, how to become stronger, and how to develop their own mind abilities is all the candidates' own business. This is why Hisoka saw so many people with 5 points and 10 points in the election chapter. In addition to their own lack of talent, they also rarely get guidance in practice. Some professional hunters who were just there to complete their work ended their guidance after the candidates learned entanglement. For example, Leorio's original master and some teachers are dedicated, help the candidates know and understand the 4 major aspects of none, and guide them to the right path, step by step, to learn their own training and development. For example, the original Yungu taught Killua and gone in this way. And some teachers will give them careful guidance and teachings according to the individual circumstances of the candidates. Not only the general nin ability, but also restrictions and oaths are taught without reservation, without any secrets. Even help to construct nin ability. Just like Kurapika's original teacher, Izanabe, and Jean helped Kate develop Crazy Clown, which can barely be considered. Yingu could be said to be conscientious and responsible. However, he now feels that there seems to be no need for him to stay here any longer. It seems I don't need to worry too much. Yingu smiled and shook his head, and then observed again and again. He judged that Killua and Xiaojia had reached the standard of a qualified nin user. Moreover, Kurapika also tried his best to teach, and they were all friends who shared life and death. It seems that they will not be able to go astray in the future, or it is very unlikely that they will go astray. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Yingu also left quietly. Just like when he came, he waved his sleeves and left without a cloud. Although he was quite curious about the Turtle Immortal style martial arts after the basic 4 elements. But he also knew that it was to spy on the core inheritance of other sects, and he still disdained to do such a thing. Xiaojia and Killua did not care too much about Yingu's departure. Compared with the grace of teaching in the original version, they are now just friends who met by chance. They followed Kurapika and studied very hard. But for those guys who hang out in the Sky Arena and specialize in hunting newcomers, is not a good thing. They have been in Xiaojia and again, Killua's TV or other places. But the two ignored them, and they have been active inside the Sky Arena. This made it impossible for the failed Baptist to sit down and have a good talk with Xiaojia and Killua. In addition, these little brats are very smart. When they go out to a nearby room, they still remember to be on guard. This can only make the failed Baptists grit their teeth there. However, they're actually lucky. After this period of training, Xiaojia and Killua calmed down and practiced seriously and have made a lot of progress. To read the violent novel, go to Falun Novel Network. At least compared with the past, it is also very effective. Even now, facing the 3 people who killed Dasoa, it is not a complete explosion, but at least it is easy to crush. However, the 2 who have not yet come into contact with the outside nin ability users. Under the influence of Kurapika's extremely stable and deliberate personality. In addition, Kurapika feels that the world of nin ability users is too dangerous, and he must protect his own safety awareness. Molek, can we learn more advanced telekinetic skills? The 2 men approached Molek again and expressed their demands. They also showed Molek the entanglement and absolute skills they had learned, which had become more refined and proficient after being tempered. Huh? Why? You're thinking of running before you even learn to walk. Molek just glanced at them and said, their basics are indeed quite solid, but they are still far from being true masters. With your level of experience in fighting other nin users, learning the following techniques, such as, is just a waste of time. We can talk about other things after you can use these skills skillfully in actual combat and defeat your opponents. Molek didn't want to force the issue, even if they were able to learn and digest. Too much cramming would affect their development. So that's it. Xiaojia scratched his head, while Killua rolled his eyes. Then we can practice telekinesis step by step, but we can always learn some martial arts techniques of Kaimryu, right? Before Molek could speak, Killua immediately said, I watched Hua Shi Dalong's battle before, and he had some very powerful martial arts moves, and some application methods that are obviously different from the basic 4 banks. If I'm not mistaken, this should be a special skill outside of the basic 4 elements of telekinesis, right? It must be said that Killua is really smart. After knowing that Hua Shi Dalang had practiced with Molek, he also studied Hua Shi Dalang's battles. After learning the ability of telekinesis, his vision and experience are better than before. Naturally, he also saw that some of Hua Shi Dalang's skills were obviously different from the basic 4 elements of telekinesis system. This couldn't help but make Killua a little jealous. Well, there are indeed some techniques for using ki. Molek glanced at the silver-haired cat and saw through his thoughts. But it depends on whether you can bear it. Of course we can. Killua blurted out without even thinking, "Are you so confident?" Molek looked at them both with a playful look and said, "You two should think about it carefully." Of course. Xiaojia and Killua looked at each other and immediately shook their heads firmly. And their heads became even harder, because Molek threw two huge hard turtle shells at them respectively. "If you want to learn those skills, you must wear these two sets first," Molek said leisurely. "As a disciple of Kame Senryu, if you want to learn advanced techniques, you must start with this." Really, Killua lifted the hard turtle shell without much effort. It must be several hundred kilograms, right? Several hundred kilograms for ordinary people is definitely a heavy weight. But for Killua, a super strong boy who pushed open the 16-ton gate of Hades, it is just that. However, looking at the appearance of this turtle shell, he had reason to suspect that Molek was deliberately playing a trick on them. But he had no evidence. "When have I ever lied to you?" Molek spread his hands and said, "I have done everything I promised you." Indeed, at least Molek taught them the knowledge of none and taught them how to practice without reservation. The two thought about it and tried to put on the several hundred kilograms of turtle shells in the Turtle School special weight-bearing suit. Including the several hundred kilograms of turtle shells, there are other heavy turtle shells in Molek's storage space. This is what came out of the blind box that appeared after Xiaojia and Killua activated their nin abilities. Successfully obtained. Kame Ryu special weight-bearing suit. Source World, Dragon Ball. This is also a special item specially prepared for the special training of new forces. Kame Ryu, mutant, his own tortoise shell, is made of a piece of 10,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum and some other materials. It is very hard and can even penetrate the weapons of the gods with one strike. Although I don't know how heavy it is conservatively estimated to weigh several tons. Similarly, the set of Kame Ryu special weight-bearing suit that Molek got also ranges from a minimum of several dozen kilograms to a maximum of several tons. It will gradually increase as the trainee adapts. It seems to be somewhat useful. Xiaojia and Killua jumped on the spot after putting on the turtle shell. Fortunately, the floor of the Sky Arena was specially made to withstand the training of these fighters, so it was not trampled. It just looked a little ugly. They all felt that this had a significant effect on their physical health. They reluctantly accepted it. When you're completely adapted to it and can treat it as if it does not exist, you can proceed to the next stage of training. Molek clapped his hands. "As for now, you should just watch how others fight." He looked at the TV next to him, which showed a poster of the duel specially designed for promotion by the Sky Arena. Hisoka versus Hua Dolang. After 2 years of revenge, this battle that many fighting fans and audiences have been looking forward to is finally about to begin. For number 12, Sky Arena. 220th floor, the audience seats around the fighting arena are all crowded. Hisoka's fights have always been very popular, and people line up to buy them. Limited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 148, A Fateful Duel. Only a dead opponent is a good opponent. 148 Fateful Duel. Only a dead opponent is a good opponent. Killua specifically asked about the price of his current fight ticket, and it has been sold for a full 150,000 Genie. And this is the friendly price given by the Sky Arena to fighters above the 200 floor. The price for outsiders is even more imaginable. The main thing is that there are many rumors about Hisoka, which makes people very fascinated. So far, he has experienced 11 battles on this floor. 8 wins, 3 losses, and 6 KOs. And a number of times he has not lost points, that is, the number of deaths. The other 3 losses were all because he did not arrive at the scene and lost without fighting. The reason is that the preparation period for the battle has passed, and he only signed up but did not register for the competition. In short, for the audience here, Hisoka is a very arrogant but extremely fascinating guy. He has never really lost. What's more, in the 11 battles he has participated in, he only lost 4 points. He was knocked down once and hit 3 times. His strength has long surpassed the level of the floor owner. Coincidentally, of the 4 points lost by Hisoka, 3 were won by Hua Dolang 2 years ago. The preparation period for the battle application system is 90 days, and Hisoka has played 11 games in total. It was stretched to 990 days at most, Nearly 3 years, which just happened to include the battle between Hua Shi-Do-Lang 2 years ago. The two people who were destined to fight again finally met again today. Not to mention, under the deliberate hype and publicity of the Sky Arena, this battle between the two seemed extremely grand and solemn. The scene was bustling with noise, which is not enough to describe it. At least, Gon and Killua, who were wearing tortoise shells, could feel the deafening noise below even if they were watching the game in this VIP room. Well, thanks to Molek, they were able to borrow the Nasra family's private room to watch the battle better here. If they were really asked to wear tortoise shells and mingle among so many people, they would definitely be ridiculed by countless people around them. I don't know what kind of battle this will be. On the one hand, they might be able to observe Hisoka's tactics and learn about his abilities through this battle, and perhaps they can also see his serious side. On the other hand, they also want to see what kind of strength and power Hua Shi-Do-Lang can show when he practices with Molek, and the unique moves and powerful stunts of Kame Senryu that he displays. The two of them, including Nyan, who was sitting there, were very much looking forward to it. The other bodyguards of the Nasra family also stood on Hua Shi-Do-Lang's side, wishing him to successfully win this battle. Only Kurapika, after entering the role of deputy captain of the guard team, dutifully guarded Nyan's safety. Live battle. The major media in the Sky Arena have already started pre-battle warm-up. Today, everyone, a fateful showdown is about to begin. The contestant this time is Hisoka against Hua Shi-Do-Lang. Before these two people, the radio broadcast an introduction, and there were TV station staff on site doing a live broadcast recording. Look, it's such a grand occasion. The reporter, dressed in the Sky Arena costume, reported in a beautiful and sweet voice. The competition is still an hour away, and the venue is already packed. First, let me introduce the record. 8 wins and 3 losses. All 3 defeats were due to absence. The unpredictable god of death, magician Hisoka. Next is the strong fighter Hua Shi-Do-Lang, who has a record of 9 wins and 1 loss. He has never lost since losing to Hisoka last year. He has set a record of 9 consecutive wins. The reporter was very passionate. Can he fight back and win back today? Please wait and see. The atmosphere outside the venue became more and more heated and excited, but inside the players' lounge, it was quiet at this time. How is it? Molek casually lay on a recliner beside him. How confident are you about this battle? If there is no chance of winning, I don't want to fight. Sitting there quietly reading a book and adjusting his mentality, Hua Shi-Do-Lang smiled and replied. At this moment, he is completely different from 2 years ago. Since he followed Molek to practice, his ability to read has reached a level that is not weak. Now he is concentrating every day to improve his inner self. Under normal circumstances, everyone will convey a weak aura, showing the most real physical and mental conditions. At this time, Hua Shi-Do-Lang's aura is as calm as the vast and boundless sea surface without any tidal currents. That's good. Molek nodded gently. This is your battle. I won't interfere anymore. He stood up from the recliner and walked outside. Hua Shi-Do-Lang was left alone, reading quietly. In the other player's studio, Shisuo also stacked the playing card pyramid casually on one side. He raised his head and closed his eyes, as if he was mobilizing something, brewing something. Then the corners of his mouth slowly rose. That perverted humming and laughing, sounded slowly in the contestant room. Dear audience, sorry to have kept you waiting. On the commentary stand, the beautiful lady who was a full-time commentator clenched her fist, looking full and excited. The battle of the century is about to begin. I will broadcast the duel between Shisuo and Hua Shi-Do-Lang live for you. She looked at the two people standing on the field from afar, reporting to the audience in real time with great emotion. It seems that these two players are ready to go. Although the game has not started yet, the atmosphere is already tense. After 2 years, who will be the final winner of this fateful duel? Hisoka or Hua Shi-Do-Lang? Please wait and see. Oh ho 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 ho. Countless audiences at the scene immediately cheered and shouted, and the scene was extremely lively. And in the center of the ring below, I am very grateful to you. Hua Shi Lang, standing on the stage, now had a calm expression. If I hadn't been baptized by you, I probably wouldn't be like this now. Thank you so much for not killing me and letting me see this extraordinary scenery. Hua Shi Lang chuckled. To be honest, after I lost to you, I once regarded that battle as a shame. But later, after 2 years of special training, I also underwent a transformation. I won't dwell on the past anymore, but I also want to put an end to my past. His expression turned serious under the smile. Only by defeating you can I say goodbye to the past. Is that so? Hisoka twisted his waist and did some warm-up exercises before the battle. It seems that the training over the past 2 years has really made you make great progress. The tearful makeup on his cheeks was slightly distorted, revealing Hisoka's face full of greed and desire. Sure enough, being with that man has also changed you greatly. It seems that letting you go was a great decision I made. Thanks to you, I am now more excited. The immature fruit from 2 years ago has grown to such a delicious state today. This is the first time Hisoka has seen a fruit grow so fast in all these years. Let him taste it carefully to see if it is ripened by some unreasonable method or is really so sweet and delicious. The exchange before the contestants ended here. Hisoka versus Kashidoro's battle match. After explaining the rules of the match, the referee immediately waved his hands. Officially begin. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. After saying that, he immediately stepped aside. At the same time, Hua Shi Lang also moved instantly. He didn't say too much nonsense, but rushed straight towards Shisao. The perverted desire on Shisua's face was restrained in an instant. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he watched Hua Shi Lang's actions firmly in his eyes. "Watch my punch, Hisoka." Hua Shi Lang suddenly shouted and punched Hisoka hard on the cheek. The punch surged, and the wind tore through. As if carrying an overwhelming momentum with the determination to kill, he hit Hisoka directly in the face. Every punch he threw was filled with one thought. That was kill him. Good momentum. Hisoka, who had his eyes covered with ki and was always in a state of concentration, did not observe the changes in Hua Shi Lang's telekinesis. But it seems that this is all the momentum is. Facing the punch that hit him directly in the face, a strong layer of telekinesis instantly wrapped around the playing cards in Hisoka's hand. Then he cut the wrist of the oncoming fist with precision. As long as Hua Shi Lang's punch hits him, the opponent's hand will definitely not be saved. In terms of the strength and precision of his thoughts, Shisuo is confident that he is not inferior to anyone. Even though he is playing with psychology and technology, his own strength is definitely not weak. Whoosh! The playing cards wrapped by Zhou are like the sharpest knives in the world. They pierce the aorta at the opponent's wrist and cut off his entire wrist. However, in the next moment, swish! Shisuo's playing cards have no resistance at all, and they just cut off from Hua Shi Lang's wrist. It didn't touch the flesh at all, and the cutting force was as if it didn't cut anything. This is Hisoka's eyes flashed. As soon as he cut, he realized something was wrong. As a martial artist, he valued his hands, especially Hua Shi Lang's former specialty, IT, was the tiger bite fist. There was absolutely no room for error in hand skills. But Hua Shi Lang used this hand as a bet to deal with his parry, which was obviously not in line with common sense. In such a fight, the more unreasonable the existence is, the more it often means that there is definitely a hidden backhand behind it. Hisoka naturally understood this. So when Hisoka chopped down, he immediately mobilized the energy in his body. And when the chop was empty, the remaining energy in his body had already wrapped around his cheek. Then bang! His left face was hit hard. Hisoka slid on the ground and retreated quickly. Hua Shi Lang did not hold back at all. Before the referee had time to announce the score of the hit, he rushed up again. Ola, 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 ola. The attack like a storm poured down on Hisoka, and all Hisoka could do was to keep his arms in front of him, mobilizing most of his telekinesis to resist Hua Shi Lang's attack. The eyes covered by his arms became brighter and brighter. Hisoka was in a passive position from the beginning. The battle between the two sides happened in a flash. When the commentator reacted, Hua Shidalang's rain of attacks had already landed on Hisoka. It's really unbelievable. Just after the opening, Hisoka has fallen into a disadvantage. Moreover, Hua Shidalong has changed his usual graceful fighting style and appears to be so wild and rough. Zero. This is like a completely different person from the previous one, where he was very reserved. Of course, Molek, who returned to the VIP room of the Nasra family, also witnessed this scene. In addition to combat, what he taught Hua Shidalong the most was that during important battles, he must not relax at all. There must not be any nonsense. Seize the opportunity and hit hard. Don't give your opponent any chance to breathe. You must know that what you are fighting now is a life and death battle, not a simple competition, nor a so-called exchange. It is a real awareness of risking your life. Only a dead opponent is a good opponent. Now it seems Hua Shidalong perfectly implemented the teachings of Molek. He would never stand there arrogantly and start talking after beating Hisoka like before. Until later, Hisoka saw through his abilities and weaknesses and directly designed him to death. Now after a successful strike, using the advantage brought by the first move, Hua Shidalong pursued and attacked relentlessly, resolutely not giving Hisoka any chance to fight back or break free. The landing and attack of each punch contained Hua Shidalong's hard training in the past 2 years. Every heavy punch was infused with his mental power and his faith, and it was getting bigger and bigger. Crack! With a crisp sound, one of Hisoka's arms is already shown in a regular bend. His right hand, unable to withstand these attacks, was directly broken. Seeing this, Hua Shidalong was refreshed and prepared to continue the attack. But at this time, under the bent and broken arm, a pair of gleaming eyes appeared. Whoosh! Several playing cards suddenly shot out from some strange corners of Hisoka's body, attacking the vital parts of Hua Shidalong from extremely tricky directions. Hua Shidalong, who had anticipated this move, had already dodged or directly used his fist to knock down the playing cards one by one. And this was exactly what Hisoka wanted. If you put all your mental energy into attacking in his palm, the energy that was connected to the playing cards and then extended from the playing cards to the fist of Hua Shidalong that knocked down the cards was instantly activated like chewing gum. Then, the energy in dealing with other aspects will be much weaker. Stretchable love. It can turn the air into chewing gum and stick it to the enemy, thereby restricting the enemy's movements. When Hua Shidalong poured his telekinesis into the attack, causing considerable damage to Hisoka. He was also stuck by stretchable love. Even when his punch landed, Hisoka stuck stretchable love on his arms. Every punch of Hua Shidalong was entangled by this chewing gum-like thought. Then at this moment, Hisoka seized the opportunity and counterattacked instantly. Swish! Hisoka suddenly retracted this thought. Hua Shidalong's body was pulled, and he suddenly lost his balance. Taking this opportunity, Hisoka's poker blade followed instantly. In a flash, it pointed directly at Hua Shidalong's throat. However, at the moment when the poker was about to cut Hua Shidalong, it still went through his neck without any hindrance. Not a drop of blood spurted out, and there was no sense of stagnation. Post views 511 start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 149. Severely injure Hisoka. After image Tiger, bite true fist. Hua Shidalong's nun ability. 149 heavy damage to Hisoka. After image, Tiger bite true fist. Hua Shidalong's nun ability. That feeling of disappointment from before appeared again. Really, Hisoka's eyes suddenly focused. At the same time, Hua Shidalong's eyes were also covered with condensation, in time, seeing through the chewing gum's telekinesis that was entangled on his body. He immediately burst out, practiced to shake it off and cut it off. But when he did these actions, this is after image? Hiso slowly told the truth. He had already figured out the essence of Hua Shidalong's actions just by these two encounters. The first time Hua Shidalong rushed towards him, he was about to cut Hua Shidalong's wrist. At that time, Hua Shidalong was just an afterimage. It was when the real Hua Shi rushed over. Taking advantage of the gap that Hisoka could not detect, he first created an afterimage. The afterimage launched the first attack, although it would not have any attack power, but this would allow Hisoka's attack to fall on the afterimage. This ensured that the real body that followed behind could seize the opportunity and hit Hisoka with the real means of attack. It really surprised me. Hisoka used his remaining left arm to wipe the first heavy blow from Hua Shi. The attack method of using the afterimage as a forerunner had caused him to suffer a great loss. I didn't expect that when the afterimage was created, I didn't even notice the fluctuation of ki. Hiso stuck out his tongue and licked the blood flowing from the wound on his cheek. If I hadn't used the playing cards to force you back, I wouldn't have noticed it. When Hua Shi retreated, he subconsciously used the afterimage. But the stretchable love that had long been attached to Hua Shi gave Hisoka the best answer. The afterimage didn't have these things. Logically speaking, if one is practicing the 350 ability of afterimage or clone, then one will definitely use the mind. But you didn't do that. Instead, you focused all your thoughts on attacking me. Hisoka's eyes became more and more satisfied and were gradually filled with desire. That means this afterimage is not a product of thoughts, but caused by speed. It seems that this is your own martial arts skills, or the desire on his face began to turn to a corner of the venue. He taught you this, didn't he? That's right, Hua Shi said in a deep voice. This is afterimage fist, this fist technique from the Kimsaru martial arts that Molek taught him, which he learned most attentively, liked most, and was most proficient in. Afterimage fist. Using the afterimage produced at high speed to create an effect similar to the clone technique to confuse the enemy. It can also create multiple clones to confuse the enemy and attack. Once used well, it will play a vital role. It can cause unimaginable damage to the enemy. But now, since Hisoka has guessed it, he simply stopped hiding it. It's great to be able to perfectly combine the offensive aspects of martial arts and mind. You are really studying hard. It seems that the direction of your growth and progress has not gone astray, as I worried. Hisoka's voice trembled, as if it came from the depths of his soul. Hisoka's excitement at this moment was simply beyond words. I can enjoy you to my heart's content. The perverted laughter echoed on the stage. The surging murderous aura also suddenly spread from Hisoka's body. Almost everyone at the scene shuddered, including the bodyguards of the Nasra family in the VIP room, and Gon and Killua, who were watching here. Afterimage fist, Xiaojia keenly grasped the name of this move. Even Hisoka couldn't see it at the first time. This martial arts technique does not use none, and it plays such an important role for a non-user like Hisoka. Killua's eyes rolled. Then the two of them looked at each other almost at the same time. After looking at each other, they nodded at the same time. They both liked this move. In the audience, everyone was affected by Hisoka's killing intention. Even the commentator shuddered slightly. Hisoka used his signature poker to successfully neutralize the attack of Hua Shi. But we also saw that the referee ruled that Hua Shi had earned 3 attack points for his attack just now. As a points-based round-based system, whoever gets 10 points first will be automatically determined to win or lose, even if the winner has not yet been decided. And now, contestant Hua Shi is in great momentum, while contestant Hisoka has suffered serious injuries to his face and right arm. From this point of view, it is Hua Shi who has the upper hand, she said in a loud and passionate voice. So, is it really possible for him to avenge his failure 2 years ago? On the ring, after Hisoka released that astonishing murderous aura, Hua Shi simply stopped restraining himself. He also knew that no matter how much he tried, no matter how cautious he was, it would be useless at this moment. He had already used his afterimage fist to take the lead, and even if it was discovered, it had already worked. Moreover, after Hua Shi used this move, he naturally thought that he would be discovered. But what if it's this move? Hua Shi eyes gradually deepened, and he slowly took a stance. He lowered his body weight, spread his legs, and formed his hands in a claws, one from top to bottom, and the other from below, in an opening and closing position. Move out. Seeing this scene, the commentator shouted excitedly. Tiger Bite Fist appears. This is Hua Shi Doulang's signature move. Once this move is used, it means that Hua Shi Doulang is completely serious. And Hisoka, do you have any other means or methods to deal with this? Compared to the impassioned speeches from the commentary booth outside, the arena was calm. Or should we say that it was like this on the surface, but in reality, there was already an undercurrent? Is this another combination of martial arts and mind? Hisoka licked the flowing blood with his tongue, feeling the taste of this combination. This is the first time I have tasted such a flavor. Sure enough, you still need to try more to taste and experience the taste and scenery you have never seen before. If it weren't for the wrong timing, he would still be in a life and death battle. Hisoka wanted to stretch his body and vent the murderous intent and desire in his heart in this way that was unique to him. Then let me see what kind of ability you could develop as a strengthening ability user. Buzz. The next second, Hua Shi Doulang's body suddenly burst out with an extremely strong aura. In the eyes of all the non-users who used condensation, they could clearly see that Hua Shi Doulang was truly using all his strength. Whoosh! It opened and closed like a tiger descending from a mountain. Its bloody mouth opened, revealing its cold fangs. The strong, murderous aura had already firmly stared at the prey, Hisoka, and was ready to kill with one blow. Your Tiger Bite Fist has improved again, Hisoka praised, and with the reinforcement of telekinesis, its power seems to have become even stronger. Looking at Hua Shi Doulang, who was rushing towards him, Hisoka was not panicked at all.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.